What a big day, what a big day.
You can't work for somebody and not make any money.
If you're worried about me, you got bigger problems.
You know, we're $5,000 away from the sale.
I'll take it.
You'll take it.
He didn't want to box, he was scared.
I don't talk bad about Kyle. Kyle just talks bad about me, that's all.
When you go and show your value, guess what? They buy from you. What a big day, what a big day. Listen, if there's a friendly neighbor that can give a seat, there's some people still standing, so there's still some seats I see in the front here. Come and grab a seat, cozy up next to somebody, introduce yourself, high five, kiss some babies. We're here to not only learn how to compensate, but even more how to cooperate with everybody, right? So even if you see somebody and you're like, you know, I don't know. We're not in high school, people, we're professionals. We're working on our craft. We're doing things differently today than we've ever done it, right? So the whole thought of starting, you know, the new era real estate, for those that were in attendance in April, it was to keep continually changing mindset. And here I was thinking, you know, the market would be different towards the end of 2023, but I can tell you this, really not much has changed, however, but what? How buyer agencies now looked at. We've seen the lawsuits going on. We've seen a lot of disruption. So not to say the black swan of the industry, but things have changed. Wouldn't we all agree? Yeah. Hey, by a show of hands, because this is like I got to do some of this stuff, how many people in the room use buyer agency agreements? All right. Wow, that's less than I thought. I thought everybody was going to raise it just to feel like they were part of the crew. And so that goes to show me a couple different things. Some people, I've had conversations, right? Some people say, hey, Dan, if I had a personal referral, you know, I don't need them to sign anything. I'll drive them around for 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. And hey, if they decide to buy a house or not buy a house, I'm good with that. And some people say, hey, I'm looking to secure my business. I want an agreement in place. I'm worth what I'm worth. And so again, we're going to talk about a lot of that today. But, you know, the two speakers that we have today, whew, look at this, huh, guys? I mean, like, they literally look like I was going to set up a ring today. But at the end of the day, we were able to get two of the biggest producers in Rhode Island and in the Northeast and in some parts of the country, as we've seen, on the stage because they feel it's something that they want to share with everybody in the room as well. They feel that it's important to be able to teach, educate, learn, disagree, agree, not agree at all. It doesn't matter. But again, at the end of the day, they're going to share their craft with you, right? If you're going to learn from anybody, you want to learn from people that are doing it bigger and better than all of us. So that was a little bit of that. Here's a little bit about me, right? So who doesn't know me in the crowd? That's okay. So I'm a highly experienced real estate industry leader. But at the end of the day, so Dan Balkun has been in the business since 2004, just hit 19 years, November 1st. You know, I opened up Balkun Title in 2016, yada, 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 yada. I do a lot of education. You know, a lot of people knew me as Short Sale Dan back in the day. For some of the people I've seen that have been around that long in the crowd, yeah, Short Sale Dan. I had a full head of dock hair back then. It was fantastic. So, you know, a little bit about my brag sheet. You know, whether you're a seasoned first-time home buyer, you know, I close loans just like everybody in this room, right? Whether you're a realtor, loan officer, title company, attorney, we all want to transact business. So that's another reason why we're here today, because we're having this fear factor, right? I mean, a lot of people, including myself, who likes change. I'm not, you know, been using the same lotion, the same face soap. I'm a creature of habit. Anybody like me? Since like high school, I haven't changed deodorant, face soap. I mean, I've changed it, but I haven't. So I'm a creature of habit. So when I see change in the industry too, sometimes I get fearful for my own business. So I was in the shower today. Does anybody do their best thinking in the shower? I do. I was thinking today because, you know, we've seen everything, the decisions that have come down over the last couple of weeks, the interfering of lawsuits and what commission should be and who should get paid and how we get paid. And it's a lot to take in. And that's why I think a lot of you are here today. And I love to see this because it makes me happy to do this. But I was thinking in the shower today, any agents been in the room since like the 80s? It's okay to, I know Sally, yeah, right? And there might only be 2 or 3 in the room, but this is who I had the conversation with, so thank you, Sally. How do you think the agents felt in 1983 when they introduced buyer agency? I mean, you can answer the question out loud, or you can keep it to yourself. They felt horrible. They were like, what do you mean? There's gonna be other agents I gotta get business, they have to cooperate with and do this. So, you know, and how many people thought the internet would die? How many people thought in 1999 when they had the Y2K and the world was gonna crack in half and everybody was gonna go away? How about when TRID came out in 2014 and said you had to actually disclose the loan so there was no okie dokie at the closings and the numbers had to be the numbers? So this is just more of a catastrophic feeling to everybody because it's a change and it's different. So, you know, let me take you through this little comfort zone of fear and charts and all of these other things, right? So where we were up until the last couple, well, let's say before 2022, right? Rates were at 2.5%. Marketing was going great. Zillow, Realtor.com, the dog walker sold 15 houses last year. Like all of the things that everybody was pumping business with was a comfort zone, right? Anybody that wasn't in the industry, they were like, God, how do I make more money? I go sell houses. Anybody can be a realtor, right? Isn't that what everybody thinks? Well, at least, all right, I don't know if anybody posted this in there yesterday over the weekend, but the 79 million things that the listing agent does and the 50 other 5,000 things that the buyer agent does to earn a paycheck for $33,000 a year. Come on, that's not true. You know what I mean? Let's face it. Have we all been on the side of transactions? Do you think all of those 90 things have to happen by you? You have teams, you have TCs, you have people that help you with the transactions, but the fear zone is where we're in with a lot of us. We lack the self-confidence, right? Why? Does anybody really understand the lawsuits? No. We hear it, we see it on TikTok, we've probably had a video or a reel, or somebody has like said something. So again, you know, we'll find excuses, we'll be affected by others' opinions. And I think that's a big thing that happens with a lot of us. We listen to other people's opinions, and if anybody's like my dad, he used to say, he goes, Daniel, opinions are like what? Right, everybody has one, right? So, you know, so we now need to transfer into this learning zone, right? Because we have to change what we are. Everything that we know and everything that we try to produce right now is going to be different moving forward, right? So if we stay in our fear or uncomfort zone, how are we supposed to grow, right? Are you the same person that got their license 10 years ago as you were today in the business? Probably not. If you got your license a year ago, are you the same person? Probably not. So again, as we're in this learning, we acquire new skills. We take the time to re-educate ourselves, find good team leaders, find good mentors, find these guys that are going to help today with a lot of this. You know, people always said to me in April, how did you get movement and all of your competitors with Semper and North Point? Because they saw the value in what Dan Balkun did. And I'm not going to pat myself on the back with any of this, but it's the same thing today. How did you get Nathan and Kyle to square off and fight each other? Well, they're not going to fight each other if everybody was waiting for that. Right? But you can keep your fruit. You can keep all of that stuff. Yeah, we're not. Exactly. So people said, how did you get them up there? And I said, I create value, right? So as I'm talking about people about creating value, creating an idea of how we're going to move forward in our next career after today, well, you have to show value. And everybody here today showed value by one, I don't think I even gave out one free ticket for this, so that was cool. Two, but you showed value in yourselves by buying the tickets today, showing up today, and personally being a representation of you and your business. Because aren't we all 1099s, right? That's what we really strive to be in this business. So again, you know, and then we're gonna go into the growth. Find purpose, live our dream, set new goals. This is what we're here to do. We're here to change the way that we think. So 2 philosophies to live by. You can't give the people with the least amount of information the most consideration. I can't consider people and their opinion of me and who the least amount of information about me, right? Isn't that kind of what some people do when they talk about you or your brand or your company or how many transactions you did? Again, high schoolish. And if you live by the cheers, you will die by the booze. You know, they're never popping champagne in the second place locker room, right? Like you can see it, they were like the second best team. However, if you went to the championship locker room, they're popping bottles, they're doing selfies. Everybody in the other room is sitting there so depressed that they lost that, again, they don't care about the cheers, they don't care about the booze, they care about winning. So again, 2 philosophies I live by on a daily basis. And dreams without goals are just dreams, and ultimately they fuel disappointment, right? So you have to, again, change, and you must put on that road to achieve your dreams, you have to apply discipline, You have to apply different things in your life that without consistency, without commitment, you'll never start. So today's your start. You know, I don't need to tell you what you do on a daily basis. Some people are up at 5 a.m., they have their discipline. Some people get up later. Some people go to the gym. Some people don't. They're good parents. They're not good parents. It doesn't matter. But you have to have consistency in your life or else you'll never start the next step. So people change for 4 different reasons. When they hurt enough, they have to, right? So I can tell you that overall, business is down 50% this year. Would anybody disagree with that? Maybe some people are doing better than they did last year. But again, I'm hurting enough to try to change things that I do on a daily basis. That means getting people in the room, bringing good people to speak, bringing things that nobody else does. So that for me is a challenge. When you see enough, they are inspired too. And that's what I'm hoping to do today. I'm hoping to have you see, to be inspired by these gentlemen that are going to pour their heart out for you today. And then when they learn enough, they want to do it. So when you leave today and you feel better about what the lawsuits look like, or you look better about how MLS and NAR and the RIAR and all of the boards are going to change and how we're all going to do this collaboratively together, then we get on that same path together, right? There's no I in team. There's only a me, right? So, and then when they receive enough, they want to. So if you felt confident and you started talking about it with other agents and you could put that into somebody's perspective, then you want to give it to somebody, right? When you sold your first house, did you go tell everybody? Of course you did. When you didn't sell your first house, where did you fit in there? You know, that fear zone, that comfort zone. So again, the more we can do and change, I say this all the time from the great Napoleon Hill, change is more than just a jingle in your pocket. Just because the money doesn't feel right, just because the timing doesn't feel right, the change has to happen in order to get there, okay? So again, change is more than just a jingle in your pocket. Has anybody ever read that book, Think and Grow Rich? It's probably one of the only books that I continuously read because for me, it's mindset. I need my desire, I need my faith, I need my commitment. I need things on a daily basis in my life. And if you saw my little girl running around today, that's a why for me. I see you, hi Danny. Very cute. So, never give up, right? We keep working, we keep striving. If you fall 7 times, get up 8. Does anybody feel like that in this? I had a friend over the house the other night. He worked Friday all day. He went on 6 buyer appointments with 6 different buyers and 1 listing presentation and came home with a goose egg. Literally had to punch him when he walked in the door because he felt like he had been defeated. And like, you know, he got back up Saturday and probably drank some more and put his 2 feet on the ground and he went to work because there is no, ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship, right? So we're going to keep moving, we're going to keep growing, we're going to keep learning, and I'll see you on the other side, hopefully at the closing table. All right? So, boom shakalaka. Look at this gentleman right here. Seyboth. We have Kyle Seyboth, ladies and gentlemen, right? Top Keller Williams, national. Millions of dollars sold here today to present to you. This is the first time him and I have ever shared a stage together. I think this is the first time you've actually spoken live to everybody in a big audience in Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So here we go, people. You're going to get an hour of Kyle Seyboth to the extreme. And brother, take it away.
Thank you, sir. All right, so obviously real quick, you guys can kind of see what I've done in the past. I think Dan hit a lot of really good points. You have to change, you have to adapt, you have to grow, you have to evolve. And I think in this business, I've been doing this for 11 years. The change in 11 years has been dramatic, right? There's been a ton of change. There's been a bunch of changes in Rhode Island, a bunch of changes nationally. And I think at the end of the day, the ones that have changed and adapted with it are the ones that have been successful. The ones that have not are the ones that have not been successful. However, to Dan's point before, I would say a majority of us, business is down 50%. It's real. It's down 50%. It's not because of buyer agency change. It's not because of NAR. It's irrelevant right now. we've got interest rates, we've got supply, we've got issues that as agents we cannot control. So at the end of the day, we have to make changes to help increase our business in lieu of what's going on, right? So I've been a huge believer in being super proactive in a market that needs people to be aggressive. The last 3, 4, 5 years, it was so easy. It was like shooting fish in a barrel, right? Last 3, 4, 5 years, anyone and their mom could be an agent, pay for Zillow, pay for Realtor.com, go do an open house. There was people buying, rates were so low, people were affording everything. This year, the year before, supply got really tight. Rates started to go up. Every month they went up a little more, they went up a little more, they went up a little more. You're starting to see, as the broker of 250 agents, I see who's doing what. The people that are doing great production are the ones that are proactive. And I'll get into what that is in a second. But at the end of the day, I think that's really, really important to understand, like, what is in front of us, what's been in front of us, and then how are you going to change with what happens over the future. And I think that right there, when you look at the agents that are doing well right now, and you look at the agents that are doing poorly, I think you're seeing a huge movement towards team. You're seeing a big movement towards the team approach, because a lot of agents need that help. They don't have the funds they had in the past to implement and put more money into marketing, put more money into lead gen. So I think you're going to see that really kind of take over going forward. So whoever's on the slides, if you want to hit the next slide, and we can go forward. I have the thing. I'm on the slides. Actually, real quick, I thought we were going to box, so I'm kind of pissed off right now. I was ready to box him, but it's all good. He didn't want to box. He was scared. But I think, in reality, I think this is good because it shows you that two people that perform at a high level, whether you like us, you hate us, you want to kill us, you want to box me, you want to box him, I have no problem with this guy. He can run his business any way he wants. I can run my business any way I want. Josh can run his business any way he wants. We can all be successful. And I think the biggest frustration that I see out there is that real estate and life is not binary. I don't have to lose for you to win. You don't have to win for me to lose. So at the end of the day, if people are like, oh, he's mean, he gets mad, he's a meanie pants, whatever, I'm mad because you're not understanding. You're not understanding, like, it's not me against you. It's not you against I. It's not me against you. It's not my client versus your client. There's a way to kumbaya and work together in this thing. And I think that is a big, important factor that we really never touched upon. I've really never spoken in front of people in Rhode Island. I do this nationally a lot. But in Rhode Island, it's like, why are we arguing? What is the point of the buying agent and the listing agent fighting? I'm not buying the house. It's not your house you're selling. So what? Like, let's try to do the same thing and get to the common goal, which is at the end of the day to close the transaction so our buyer is happy and they actually get to purchase the home, and the seller is happy who actually gets to sell the home. Instead, we want to fight the whole time and argue from day 1 to day 60 on who's right and wrong. And we're both wrong because the deal died. So nobody won in that situation. So I think at the end of the day, it's really important that we understand we can do better together. And just because we're on each side of the equation doesn't mean that we have to argue the whole way going forward. I'm not going to give you 4,000 slides. I can barely read and write. So I'm not going to give you any of that stuff. I'm going to give you what I think, and nobody knows the future. But some people think they know the future. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I think how things are going to turn out. And I think this is really important that we understand, what does this truly mean for the industry? First thing it means that everybody in the room, probably 70% of you, posted that dumbass thing on Facebook talking about all the things you guys do to prove your value and your worth. That's not how we get buyer agency agreements. That's the wrong way to do it. But what this does mean is I think you're going to have a major unknown in timing. A major unknown in timing. When will you start to see this come to fruition? And when will you see everyone start to adapt to the same thing and start to do and act the same way? So just because there's rules and legislation and all these different lawsuits going back and forth, until someone tells me I have to operate like this, I'm going to do it the way I want because of my business. And at the end of the day, right, that timing across the board, unless everyone's on the same page and we all agree and we have a common rule, a common law, we all agree that this is the way that we're going to operate going forward, it's never going to be uniform. It's never going to be in sync. So we're going to have to operate. If I run my business one way and I decide that I'm not going to pay the buyer more than $1, the buyer's agent more than $1, then as the buyer's agent, I have to be trained well enough to figure out and understand how to get paid. And whose job is that to do? That's the broker. And as a brokerage, it's really important that we stay ahead of the curve. So I think the timing of this and the timing of any of these changes is a complete unknown. You've got buyer, and Nathan's going to know this. He studied this stuff for years. This guy's got this on his wall in his bathroom. He knows this in and out. But at the end of the day, you've got the buyers now refuting it, right? They're coming back. They're doing their own thing on the counter side. You've got the sellers there's the major lawsuits going each and every way. But at the end of the day, who's really confused? And this is a problem for all of us. Who gets the most confused? The public, the buyers and sellers. Now you start to confuse people when there's not conformity and everyone's acting in the same manner. So I think you have a major issue. It's hard enough, I know for us, people that work with buyers, right? The buyer always will ask this question, how do you get paid? How many times have we been asked, how do you get paid? Anybody? What's the answer? So I'm working with a buyer and they're like, how do you get paid? Who says I don't get paid? No one. No one says I don't get paid. But we all have been trained for the last however many years that we get paid by the seller. Now the seller, right? When you have that conversation with the seller's going to say, how does the buyer's agent get paid? And you're going to say, well, you pay me and then I split it with them, right? Everybody understand that? Yeah. So now you're going to see when we change and how we change, the buyer's side is going to get paid from the buyer, just like a lender gets paid from the buyer, and the seller side gets paid from the seller, right? But the brokerages are not paying attention to this, and the brokerages and the brokers that aren't training their agents on how to do this, and you have to do it in a way that shows that you're worth your value of them paying you. If you don't do anything, or you don't know anything, you don't know the cities, you don't know the towns, you don't know the value, you don't understand cap rates, you don't understand rents, market rents, you don't understand anything about, this is where you're going to weed out people that have no clue. If you honestly have no clue, you need to learn and understand what you're doing. You need to learn, and we teach this all the time. We do once a month, we go to a house and we show every component of a house and what you should look for if you're a buyer agent, if you're walking through the house, so you can help train your buyers on what to look for. That's adding value. If you go show a house, and one of the things I say to people all the time, they want to know about areas and neighborhoods and locations and safety and all different things regarding the location, how will it fit for my family? Depending on whatever your family's background is. Well, I can tell you what to expect because I know the areas, because I've been around, I've been there. If you have no clue and you go somewhere in the winter and it's wicked quiet, and then in the summer comes around and there's a zillion of people running around and these people wanted a quiet neighborhood and that's not what you gave them, well, you didn't add value. You didn't help them. It's not worth anything. There's nothing there. So again, we have to retrain buyer agents to show value. I think this is the one that to me is going to be the most interesting. How and what happens to Zillow, how and what happens to Realtor.com, how and what happens to OpCity. What does the value, or what do people start to pay for that stuff? Because if it gets to a point, obviously, where we're going towards where the buyers are paying their agents, right? But then at the same time, the agents aren't strong enough to sell their buyers on how to pay them. I'm going to buy a lead from you that I can't get paid on. It makes absolutely 0 sense. Makes no sense. So their models are you're going to see so much change over time with this. And this is the stuff that goes through my brain and my mind is like, how do I change with it? How do I get ahead of it? Is Zillow starting to panic? Is Realtor.com starting to panic? Are these other companies, lead platforms starting to panic? What do we need to focus on as a brokers? What do we need to focus on as a community to be able to still continue to do business? And I think that one for me is going to be really interesting in the next few years here, what happens. I also think team models become very, very valuable in the next few years because A, there's not a lot of supply. B, you've got rates which make it really, really tight and make purchasing power really low. And then at the end of the day, some agents are nervous as is. When you add in the fact that now you have to try to show your own value and you have to try to have that difficult conversation with the buyer of how you're gonna get paid, if they don't have that support in the background, they're gonna really struggle on their own. And I think you're gonna start to see a major migration towards team models and towards people working together with the leader, and then under the leader, they're providing different lead programs and platforms. So I think you're gonna start to see that really take form, not only locally, but on the national level. And I think, and then at the end of the day, the agents that are able to operate under what I call the multifaceted commission structure will be the ones that will do better. It doesn't matter, right? So if I go to a listing and it's Joe and Joe gives me no commission at all, I'm able to have the training, have the skill set, have the mindset to go ahead and get my own commission. We deal with a lot of agents in our brokerage that they get panicked and they get nervous and they don't. Has anyone ever done a wholesale deal? This is how easy I explain it to people. Anybody ever done a wholesale off-market deal? So we've done one, right? Okay, wholesale deal. Let's think about it like this. I say to you, I want to get $100,000 for the house.
I'll buy it.
You'll buy it. Mike Russell's buying it for $100,000. He's going to then flip it to Josh. He's going to flip it to that, and it's going to get flipped around $100,000. But if I say I want $100,000 for a house, right? And you want to get paid as the agent on that transaction, what do you do? What do? You just add your commission on top. You add it on top, right? So if you think you're worth 3%, I say, okay, my buyer, you have to pay 103 for this property. That's what it is. The seller's still going to get their 100. The buyer's going to go ahead and get the buyer's paying 103, and you as the middle person, which is the agent, you get 3,000. Everybody understand that? That's the easiest way that I've been able to explain it to people is if you've ever done any sort of wholesale deal, or you've ever done anything where the seller has, I want to net X, then that's how you can get to that number. And that's a very simple way for us to understand how to work this into our toolbox, how to work it into our daily repertoire, what that looks like. Any questions on this stuff? I like questions. I don't like to just stand here and fucking talk. So if you have questions, ask a question. How's it different? It's not. Which you can't do, right? But wholesale doesn't have rules. You can do whatever you want. So we have to, so my point was to explain it in a way that's wholesaling. Essentially, it is a net listing though. But the seller side is taking their own commission, so it's not though. Because the seller side is getting a commission to the listing agent. That's why it's not a net listing. Go ahead.
So when you write a purchase and sales agreement though, we're going to have the buyer have to come out of pocket for their agent, or we're going to put it into the whole package and call it the same, present the same package of buying the house for $400, be given the realtors and buying maybe 3.5%.
It's no different than you'll roll into the closing costs. It's going to be no different.
Well, that's a different question. If it's a closing cost, that's different than in the purchase price.
You're going to add it on top. So they're going to pay $412. Let's say it was $400. They're going to end up paying $412.
So then the buyer would have to come up with cash out of pocket plus 3.5% or something.
Or roll it into the mortgage. As long as it appraises. Right, so as long as it appraises, you're gonna roll it into the mortgage. You guys understand? Like that's the way, the easiest way to kind of look at that thing and understand what we're really talking about. All right, so this is what I really want to hit home on. One of the most important things though. At the end of the day, you can change the commission structure, you can change everything and anything possible. Real estate will never change the way that you get actual business. I've taught this on a national level. I firmly believe in it. These 6 ways to get business will not change. They are what they are. If you don't do them, you're not going to get business. If you do more than other people, you'll get more business. So at the end of the day, a lot of us focus so much on the wrong things. We're so focused on this buyer agency and what are we going to do and how are we going to change and the legislation and what does this mean and what does that mean. You should be focusing on this. You should be focusing your time on your referrals and your past clients. I don't know about you guys, but 50% of my business comes from referrals and past clients. And that actually brings me to, I sell on purpose. I'm not only the broker, I sell and I try to sell on a super high level. Anybody know why? Anybody have any idea why I do that? Go ahead. Not fucking money, yeah, obviously, but not money. Go ahead. How can I tell you to do something if I don't do it? How can I relate to you if I don't do it myself? So by me going out there and sell, my business model is that I want to sell at a super high level so that everyone that works within our brokerages has something to strive for and can understand that anything's possible. If this guy can do it, I can do it. I started 11 years ago. I had no network in real estate, didn't know anyone, didn't know anything about anything really. And I just started and just kept going and going and going and going. But the whole time, these same 6 ways that I get business have not changed. Now I have other people help me do them, which is the whole point of delegation and getting people to do other things so I can spend more time on other stuff. But at the end of the day, I sell for a specific reason. I cannot tell you to do something if I'm not doing it on my end. And I cannot expect you to do something if I'm not doing it. Or if I don't have someone doing it for me, then I'm full of shit. I'm lying to you. And if I can't relate to you, how can I teach you? How can I coach you? Now you could say, okay, hard to be player coach. And you know, he's going to take, I heard this one. Well, he's going to compete and take all your listings. I have 1% of the market in Rhode Island. If you're worried about me, you got bigger problems. You shouldn't worry at all about me. Not at all. Not even a second. You should be like, hey, this guy is doing it. Let me see how he's doing it. And let me take a piece of what he does and what Nathan does and what Josh does and what whoever else does and put it in my business and do it my way. And that's ultimately the way that I feel like a lot of us can be more successful. Instead of looking and hating on each other. Hey, he does it like this. I kind of like that. I'm going to take that and use that. Hey, Tyler does it like this. I like what he does. I'm going to take that and use that too. So at the end of the day, that to me is really important that you understand. You can learn, and I still learn from the agents in our brokerage, different ideas and different things and different thoughts and mindset and principles and access to different things that I didn't know about. So when I look at this, right, so I talk about referrals and past clients. I talk about open houses. Who doesn't do open houses? Who does do open houses here? Who doesn't? You guys are full of shit. So I cannot fill the open houses for our brokerage every weekend. I have to beg people to take them. So whoever in this room wants to cover them, we'll get the numbers and names and we'll be sending out texts, and I guarantee you're going to say, no, I got to go away, or I'm busy, or it's a holiday, or maybe I got to go wash my dog, whatever the hell you guys do. But at the end of the day, I still do 2 open houses a weekend. I hate them, but I do them. So I can relate. Because you know what? I keep picking on you right in front of me. But Josh is going to say, I'm not doing any more open houses because no one shows up. He's right. Sometimes people don't show up. And it sucks. But at least I can say, Josh, I get it. I totally understand. I get it. But you got to keep doing it. And how I look at it, if you do 2 a weekend and you do that over 52 weeks, 104 open houses, and you get 4% of that, you're still doing 4 or 5 deals. What else are you doing with that other hour and a half? It's not a terrible use of time. Farming, this is the one I think is really where I'm seeing a huge, huge impact on the people that are doing this versus the people that are not doing this. Actually picking up the phone and dialing it. Everybody in here texts all day long, on your Instagram, on your Facebook, but you ain't calling. No, you don't pick up the phone and dial. Old school, pick up the phone and dial to people that are on is it a call list? What is that thing called? Not the do not, the opposite of it. So not the do not call list, can't call them, but you can call the people that are not on that list. Circle prospect, pick up the phone, dial, stay in front of people. The more people you talk to, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. It's a very simple concept. But to get people to do that is almost impossible. Everybody's shaking their head like they do it, and there's no chance we all do it. Seriously, it's really hard to even get ISAs to do that. And that's all they're supposed to do all day. And they'll find an excuse on why they can't do it. Sphere of influence, right? To Danny's point, he was talking about it before. He's smart enough to know this was a great idea. He texted me. He's like, do you want to do this? And I was like, I don't know. I need a couple days. Let me think about it. But I had to respect the hustle that he had behind it and to understand that, hey, he's trying to get a whole bunch of people in the room to help himself build business. I'm a preacher of not hating on people, so how can I hate on him? So what he wants to do, I got to help him. I got to give him a shot.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome. I didn't know you were in here. But at the end of the day, that's sphere of influence. So this is a sphere of influence to a magnitude, to a super high level. But at the end of the day, that sphere of influence, right? I talked to the agents in our broker, some of the newer ones, and I said, hey, go find 10 small businesses around the area and introduce yourself. Every week, 5 days a week, go to 2 different businesses a day. And just go introduce yourself. Tell them what you do, how you can help them, whatever they do, see what you can do to kind of help send clients their way. And I think that's an easy thing that we can all do. FSBOs and expires, obviously not a lot of expires. Not a lot of things expire unless you list them too high. FSBOs, I don't love them. It's a super small percent of overall business. And then finally, online leads. And I think this one is the one that's going to change pretty big in the next few years. But someone will figure a way to provide online leads. And whether it's PPC, Google AdWords, whatever, there'll be the next one, the next Zillow, the next Realtor.com that comes to the forefront. Any questions on this? No, nobody has a question. Nobody listened to a goddamn thing I said. Okay, good. But I'd like to mix it up a little bit. Let me ask you. All right, good. All right, so this, again, we talk about, obviously, our brand is Century 21 Limitless. I believe in the limitless mindset where anything's possible. You can do anything you put your mind to a certain extent. But I think the key factor here is you got to adjust and adapt. You have to adjust. No matter what comes out of this, we cannot control it. So no matter why focus on what you cannot control, when you should focus on how do you solve the problem or how do you solve the change that's in front of us? How do you fix the change? How do you fix your own business to be, because at the end of the day, if this whole thing changes really, really fast, we're all on the same playing field. Seriously, we all have to kind of start over and revamp how we did business. So the last 11 years, whatever I did that worked the last 11 years, each year works a little less or a little better. Each year I've got to do a little change. I've got to make, how many people have really cut back on Zillow? And no, seriously, how many people, raise your hand. Why have you cut back on Zillow? Huh? Can't convert. Why else have you cut back on Zillow? There's a very simple reason. Now, if you went 5 years, huh? It costs a lot, but here's the problem with Zillow right now in the last 5 years. The whole point, when I started out, Zillow was killer. It was so easy. It was like the best thing in the world. If regarding a house in Pawtucket, and I use Pawtucket because that's where I started everything, for $350,000, I could find them 55 other houses that are within $350,000. Right? 10 years ago. The reason you don't do Zillow now or you don't spend as much is because if they don't like that one house or it's pending, which 90% of the time it is, what are you spinning them into? You're just building a database of buyers that aren't going to be able to buy for the next, or if you look back 5 years, that haven't bought in 5 years. Because as rates went up, it got harder and harder to purchase. As rates went up, it got harder and harder for them to afford these houses. And as supply went down, it's harder and harder to convert these people into actual buyers. So think about that. Anyone that hasn't really taken that spend down on Zillow or Realtor.com or any of those sites, like, you're missing the picture. You're not really understanding what's going on. Now, I think you need to still invest in that. We talk about investing in yourself and in your business, right? And I talk about, when I think about how much to invest back in my business on actual lead gen, 10 to 15%. And it sucks because that 10 to 15% has a very low conversion rate right now, but you still have to do it. Because the only way to grow your sphere and the only way to meet more people and the only way to have more people that are at your ability to, that have the ability to buy is to pay for them. Pretty simple. You could put me, I was talking to someone this weekend, and this is just as real as I could be. You could put me anywhere in the US. I don't care. Alaska, anywhere. I will make it in real estate. 1,000%. I will do well. Within the first 12 months, I'll be one of the top people in that area because I know the blueprint. And I say this to people all the time. If you have a scarcity mindset, if you don't have an abundancy mindset, and you could take every dollar I have, you could take every house I have, everything, but I know how to get there. So that's one thing you can't take. You can't take my mindset, you can't take my blueprint, and if you have those two things, you will survive in any sort of market. And that is 100% God's honest truth. If you have a blueprint, you have the right mindset, you stay positive, you can survive in any market. You could put me anywhere in the world, I'll be fine. Embrace the change and stay ahead of the curve. And I think a lot of the brokers and a lot of the brokerages out there, and this is not to knock anyone, but if they're not paying attention, you're going to see a massive exodus of real estate agents within your brokerage. Because the ones that do pay attention, and the ones that are at the forefront, and the ones that do understand what's going on, is they're going to be educating their agents while you're not. And then what's going to happen is they're going to talk to other friend agents. Hey, we're doing all these different trainings and we're not. Oh, well, we don't even know about that. We don't even know how to do that. And I think that part right there, right? If you're not getting the training or you don't have the guidance and support behind this and we're trying to fight it, you're looking at it wrong. Understand the other one here. A lot of us do this well. Understand technology and social media. Something's gonna, obviously we have right now, what do you have? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, what else? Anything else? TikTok. There's always gonna be the next one. There's always gonna be the next one. There's always, the whole point of social media is to what? Anybody ever read the KW Red Book? Is that the one? Yeah. Is it the Red Book? The first one that he had? The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. The whole point behind the Millionaire Real Estate Agent was to get in front of as many people as you possibly can. What better and less expensive way to do that than social media? Right? What better and less expensive way is there to get in front of as many people as you possibly can and to build a brand? We have a huge opportunity right now. You got LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, all three sites that 95% of us are on all day long. And perception's not always reality. I look, and when I see people on there, like, wow, that guy must be killing it, man. He's closing something every day. And then I look at the guy's numbers, and he's closed 7 deals. He must use that same closing 20 times, 20 times. But from the general public's point of view, it looks like the guy's busy. And a lot of our agents, and I've done this for our agents, and I've done this for a lot of the training, I've put together literally social media calendars for them to follow to a T. And about 5% do the first day, never mind the first 7 days. But the point of it is to stay in front of people. Again, if we're not focused on building our own brand, and we're not focused on staying in front of people, and we're not focused on how we can grow as agents and build that perception, you're looking at it wrong. You're fighting the wrong fight. Remain a student of the game, right? So this is important. I believe and I feel like you can always learn from everybody. And I think at the end of the day, when you're trying to do this business and you're trying to grow, I can learn from lenders, I can learn from lawyers, I can learn from realtors, I can learn from wholesalers, I can learn from flippers, I can learn from investors. You can learn the game, and those are all the tools that you need. Those are the tools that are going to help tie back into the buyer agency agreement and tie back into you actually getting paid. So for you actually getting paid to perform as the buyer's agent. If you do a shitty job now as a buyer's agent, you're going to get paid no matter what. If you do a shitty job as a buyer's agent and they paid you, you think they're going to refer you or kill you when they talk to someone else about you. So I'm serious. Like, that's the other problem. It's like, it's easy to get away with it now because the buyer doesn't feel like they're paying for it, so they don't really care. They just want to have someone holding their hand. But you don't think for 1 second when they start to pay and they see that they're actually covering your cost, if you don't provide any value, right? If you don't provide any value, at the end of the day, they're going to kill your name. And that's a huge factor. As we know, we talked about referrals and sphere. That's a big factor, and that all ties in together. I think I said all that. Any questions on this? How am I doing for time? What time are you? Good? All right, so what are we doing as a brokerage, and what are we doing, and what do I think we should all do and learn and try to pick up on? Provide a multi-pronged brokerage for all agents. I have been totally focused on this for the last, I would say 12 months. Anybody understand what I mean? Provide a multi-pronged strategy and brokerage for all agents. Anyone know what I mean by that?
Different splits, multiple different split options.
I want to be able to provide a place where someone brand new who's never done anything can find a home and not just languish and be out there doing nothing. Someone that wants to be part of a team strategy or a team program can have the ability to do that. Someone that wants to start and build their own team can have the ability to do that. And someone wants to just leave them the hell alone and do whatever they need to do can have the ability to do that. And I think that part has been very important, but will be even more important as we go forward and we really focus on it. We start to see how many people need that team structure. And if you can't provide it, because it's very expensive, if you can't provide it and you don't understand the expenses and you don't understand the revenue part of it, you'll either go out of business really fast or that brokerage will just dissolve. That multi-pronged, that multi-structure strategy for brokerages going forward is going to save a majority of the realtors that want to stay in the game. We've already seen a ton of people who left to get full-time jobs. And people that I was like, wow, that person I thought did pretty well. And unfortunately, it doesn't work because you're not proactive anymore. We all fell in a situation the last few years where we didn't have to be as aggressive as we had to be when we started out. So when you can fall back a little bit and you can be more reactive versus proactive, then at the end of the day, this starts and we start to hit a situation like this and we're screwed. And now you got to get another job. New agent mentorship with all the new stuff that's coming in, right? So we actually run, I think once a month, we'll do a buyer agency class or course on how to provide your value and how to get paid. Trainings on everything that we're seeing out there. We've got a lead program that we've just put into place the last 6 months. We've tried like 4 or 5 different things. We merged with another firm, brought them in, and we've provided a really nice lead program for our agents. We do a weekly masterminding with Q&A, and I think that's really helpful too. That's another way for us to all learn. Is you get on the phone, you get on a Zoom, you get in front of people, you're in person, and you're asking questions, and you're providing answers, and everyone's giving their own input and 2 cents so we can all learn from each other. Social media access, again, providing the ability for agents to go out there, present, put themselves in their best light, put their best foot forward, and show who they are, right? A lot of us still, how many people do videos? Who doesn't do videos? How come you don't do videos? I can't even see you, but how come you don't do videos? What's that? Oh, well, that's one reason. Who does social media who doesn't do videos? Go ahead. Huh? Yeah, it's uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, like right now, as it gets really competitive, you're gonna have to get really comfortable really fast, right? And seriously, social media, and the other thing I see a lot of people, you gotta be careful what you post. Now be careful, how are you posting on social media? What are you posting? What are you trying to portray? What's the image you wanna put out there, right? Do they wanna see you partying? They wanna see you out all the time. Do they wanna see the human side? Like the general public's watching everything now is really, like when you go to a listing appointment, I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I was on your Facebook or I was on your Instagram or I looked you up after. Like they're looking, they're not just not paying attention. They're totally looking and watching what you're doing, watching everything that you do. Top agent mastermind, which is another one I think that we've implemented that's been very good. What we do is we take the last 12 months, the top 10 agents for the last 12 months. What's worked? What hasn't worked? What's changed? What are the things you're going to do different? Where are you spending your money? What are you investing in? What's the process that you're seeing now versus you saw before? Who are the lenders you're working with? Who are the agents you're working with? Who are the lawyers you're working with? Like, these masterminds are all beneficial to everybody involved. Again, I think with supply as low as it is, off-market opportunities have become so important for agents to continue to keep it moving. Anybody ever do off-market deals? You have to. You have to figure out how to get them. You have to figure out how to do them. You have to figure out how to sell them. You have to figure out how to buy them. So I do some flips here and there, and the reason I do flips is why. Anybody know the reason I do flips? And someone will say make money. It's not. That's not the reason. Huh? I'm creating my own inventory. I know for a fact next year, I already know, if I don't get one other regular person, I know for a fact how much inventory I'm going to have because I'm creating it. I'm not, and it gets all to my point of proactive versus reactive. Every single day I'm working. Every single day I'm thinking about what to do better. Every single day I'm focused on how can I create more inventory. I'm not saying, oh shit, there's no inventory, no one's selling houses, I'm going to have to cry in a corner. I'm saying, oh shit, I better do something. I better go create some inventory. I better go figure out how to get an off-market deal. I better figure out development. I need to figure out how to convert this church. I need to figure out how to convert this. And again, you don't have to do it on your own. You can find a partner. But creating inventory as a realtor, think about it like this. One, you make money on the flip, on the whatever, the sale. Two, you get another sign in the ground. So you build more credibility. You build more listings. Three, it gives you another chance to get buyer leads that come in directly on your stuff. Four, it gives you the other ability to do open houses. Five, it gives you the ability to cold call and circle prospect around the location. So think about just from you going out to get one listing on your own that you're not going to argue with yourself about. It's a very easy, my repair addendums are really simple. Yep, I'll do it if it's me. I just want to get rid of this thing. So at the end of the day, right, so it's very, very important that you, in a situation like this, we're able to try to go and create our own inventory. And a lot of people, right, anybody understand what hard money is? How much, so this is important, some people may not, but hard money is private lending. Private lending is when someone gives you cash to go out and buy a property and you put down a portion of it. So if you say to me, hey, I don't have the cash to be a cash buyer, you really don't understand real estate to that extent. Because you can be a cash buyer with hard money loan with as little as 10% down if the deal makes sense. Some will even fund 100. There's a lot of lenders out there who fund 100 if the deal makes that much sense. So there's no reason you can't create your own inventory. That's pretty much all I have. Like I said, I don't do a zillion slides. I know we're going to do Q&A at the end. Anybody have anything for me on anything I went over? What do you got? Good?
Nah, you're ready to go.
Anybody?
How many masterminds are you a part of? Or how frequent are you trying to do them? Best way to structure it?
So that's a good question. So real estate centric masterminds, just really one. But I firmly believe that you should be part of a mastermind where you're the little fish. So I believe in like elevating up to a mastermind where everyone makes more money than you, everyone's more successful than you, and you're kind of just the guy trying to learn. So I'm in a couple. Now I think you got to switch out of them too. You can't just stay stagnant and stay in the same one. So I think you get in one, ride it out for a little bit, and then go to another one. But they're very helpful, for sure.
Kyle, with buyer's agency and negotiating with this craziness with the interest rates going high, buyers are more strapped. How are you overcoming not being able to get the money out of them directly and it not being able to be financed into the deal? What are you doing in that scenario?
I'm just trying to understand your question for a minute.
So
So,
buyer
Yep, FHA buyer, it appraises, okay, you can only go so high, but so honestly, I mean, you've got to look at it. It's going to be, so, okay, I'm going to back up from it.
We're actually gonna.
We will get it. Yeah, we'll get it
that's
back.
part of the-
My bad, screw this.
Yeah, we're gonna have part of the round discussion. We're actually gonna have Eric Maluk up here from Semper Home Loans, who's gonna be able to talk about lending and all of those key questions right there. All right, because I don't want to confuse the
All right.
realtors.
You want me to give you an answer though? I'm going to give you an answer though. I'm going to give you an answer.
No, you got it.
Couple things. So, one, the reality is, if the buyer's that strapped and the rates are so high where they can't afford it, you've got to take that buyer and say to them, and I've had this conversation with a bunch of buyers, you can't look at anything that's come on the market less than 5 days. You've got to look at everything that's been 2 weeks or more on the market. You understand why? Because,
Hasn't sold yet.
it hasn't sold yet, it's overpriced according to the market, and I'm not going to disappoint you. Because if I cannot stand when my buyers send me a house and it's like 1 second on the market, I'm like, oh, here we go. You can't even go to that price and you want to look at it. So we have to do a better job at educating the buyers that at that price point, right? If we can only go to that price point, we can't look at anything until it's been 2 weeks on, right? And then we can use that negotiating and we can come down a little bit on the price and we can add in our costs, and that's how and this market is really hard because the supply is so tight. That's just the reality. The supply being so tight and everything going so fast, it makes it really hard to be able to get that buyer that's maxed out at a certain price point. All right? Good?
One more question.
Go ahead.
Let's say I'm a new agent. How do I show value to my buyer to pay me commission? How's that conversation going?
All right, so that's good. If you're a new agent, no, seriously, if you're a new agent, you're not that busy.
Right.
You need to kiss their ass up, down, sideways, every which fucking way you possibly can. I'm serious. You need to do everything possible. You need to white glove service them. As a new agent, you need to give them the absolute best service you possibly can, right? Huh?
Or use your office numbers as well.
Right. Or from another standpoint, you say, hey, our office has sold so many properties in that area. We do a ton with first-time buyers. We do a ton with buyers. But they want to be with you. So you have to show, they don't know, hopefully you know more than them. That's the key. You just have to know more than them. And if you know more than them and give them really, really good service, they're not going anywhere. All right? We'll do Q&A after that. I'm good.
Kyle Seyboth.
Keep this on, right? Cut it off.
Kyle, your vodka.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry, that's not for you yet. All right, so we are running really on time, which is really good, because a lot of people are like, is this gonna last till 7? Because like, you know, I haven't sold a house and like, you know, I could probably be doing something. Kyle, thank you very much. That was fantastic. I know the Q&A is gonna be even better because like, I've already launched a bunch of like, you know, torpedoes out there, and a lot of people wanna ask questions, and I know. So save those questions because, you know, the next gentleman that we have coming on the stage, we have Mr. Nathan Clark. So Nathan's been doing this business for a very long time. He's been the head of the buyer agency, as you know, for all of these years. And he's here today to really discuss a lot of more, like an in-depth process of not only his understanding and knowing buyer agency, but also really understanding how the lawsuits have worked, changing our mindset, and things of that nature. Again, we're here today to learn, keep an open mind. I love some of the interaction already, the questions. When I'm seeing in the crowd when people are doing this, then I know you're engaged. You know, some of the people have their skulls still, you know, but hey, that's what you're here to break today. For people that are standing in the back that don't think there's any seats, there are seats in the middle here. There are seats everywhere, so I don't want you to feel like you couldn't get a seat. Please come and sit, snuggle on in, even if it's somebody that you don't normally like or want to sit with. There's guys over here with their arms on chairs, you know, taking 2 chairs. There's chairs, guys, so as we're in between right now, please sit. I want you to be comfortable. I don't want you to feel like you were, not invited, but you paid for it. There's seats right up here, seats everywhere, okay? So please find a seat, get comfortable. I'm liking this so far. I like everybody's interjections. I'm loving the way I'm engaging by the audience. People are laughing, which is good. You know, Kyle is always a very serious person, so it's good to see him engaging with people. And it's true, you know, having respect for somebody else's game is very important in this market because why? You know, you see how hard that gentleman works. You know, as you saw, we did the bout. You know, he was Kyle No Sleep Seyboth. I don't want to pronounce it wrong because Jamie already told me if I did, he was going to knock me out earlier. But, you know, we called him No Sleep because since I've known Kyle, like literally, guys, 3 or 4 hours a night, if that, and maybe even less. I don't know. But like when you're doing 600 transactions and you're traveling around the country and you're masterminding and you're trying to run brokerages and you're trying to recruit and, you know, off market, on market. I mean, his reels are off the chain, right? We see him. I mean, how many houses does he go through? He made some really good points. And actually, I was thinking about these too, you know, talking about value, right? And there was a gentleman that actually, for the first time in my life, I went on an open house or a tour with. And if anybody remembers a guy named Guy Glennon, he was, and you remember him, right? Yeah, right, Justin, yes. And Justin, you would know this because it was your listing on the farmhouse with the church in the back over the pond. Yes, thank you. And I remember Guy walking through this house, and now he was a nuclear engineer and submarine, so he was a little different, but to Kyle's point, he knew everything about the house. And what I mean by that, the moldings, the air conditioning units, the boilers, the French drain. I mean, listen, when he walked through, his value was a $1.6 million listing or something along those lines. And like he knocked it down with the seller through and through. So to Kyle's point about go on these buyer tours, go on listing tours, go and do open houses. Like I was talking about this with somebody. They're like, well, how am I gonna? So when you're walking through with your buyer, wouldn't it be nice, like, oh, look at that crown molding up there, like from the 80s, that brown, right? Like, whatever it may be, the light switches, the different things with all the technology in the houses. So again, the more your tool belts are armed, the better you're gonna be to have success in sales. Did anybody ever sell anything before houses? Yeah, car salesman, I was copiers, people did other things, right? So the more you know and the more when you go and show your value, guess what? They buy from you. Right? So it's same thing on your listings. It's the same thing with your buyers. It's the same thing. Who has to be a salesperson with their kids? Haven't we all become, who's better than negotiating than kids? Right? They will negotiate you to the point of tapping out. I'm done. So what do? We have to then counteract what they're telling us. So children are the ultimate negotiators in life. And if you can't sell a child, then you can't sell homes, right? Because like, you know, everybody has their own way, but showing value is more than just, again, dollar signs and things of that nature. Show value in why you can sell their property. Show value in why you can bring them to your property, okay? So, as we got the second part of this getting ready to run, Kyle and Nathan squared off. You saw the ring. I think people really thought we were going to fight today, which it may still happen at some point. I did the Danny King in the background. Like I was going to push my hair up really high. But at the end of the day, I couldn't be happier that these two gentlemen have joined us today. I appreciate you all again as we keep continuing to go through this. We're going to have a huge Q&A. But I have to give my friend Nathan Clark the best introduction because he wanted to have this song as his introduction. Yeah, Seek and Destroy. Everybody, Nathan Clark with your Home Sold Guaranteed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate having me.
Absolutely.
Let me grab my clicker here. So Kyle, fantastic job. Thank you very much for doing this. You got me doing it too. And, you know, you got to see that me and Kyle are very different. The fact that he started off with 4 slides and I have probably about 150 slides to go over with you guys. Not that many, but close. So great job, Kyle. And you know, a lot of people think that naturally, you know, Kyle does his field, I do my field, that we don't like each other. And I've talked to Kyle about this face to face. Be very thankful when God gives you somebody that you can compete with, a good competitor, because it just makes you better. In doing these type of events, what happens is when we're able to teach people, we're able to make everybody better. okay, the industry gets better, okay, and get ready for a lot of the changes. So today, what I want to go over with you guys is what's going on and what the recent commission bombshell settlements mean for you and the future of real estate. A little bit about me. I got some photos to show you guys there, but a little bit about me. My wife Jamie and I have been married for 18 years. We have a 10-year-old son, Benjamin. I love dogs. I have 5 dogs, a German Shepherd named Hazel, 4 English Bulldogs, Bertha, Chubbs, Buster, and Bronco. I enjoy competition very much. Actually, as we speak right now, I do strongman competitions. I'll be heading out to Florida for nationals. Again, Jamie and I are active drag racers. I race a 1962 Ford Falcon and my wife 2020 Mustang Cobra. And right now, I'm going through a water cut right now. So if you see me drink a lot of water, it's just getting ready for Saturday's weigh-in. So we have a good time with that. At the heart of my mission really lies an unyielding commitment to building quality lives for my family, my team, my clients, my community, and our vendors. I started in real estate in 2003, sold over 4,000 homes. Done this a lot, but more importantly, I've been using buyer agreements since 2008. I've helped thousands of people implement this into their business. A lot of agents in the area know how to do this, a lot of lenders, because we really started doing this a long time ago because we saw this coming. All right, some quick photos up here. My wife, our puppies, my son Benjamin. Bertha is the one with the watermelon helmet on, and our car is there. So this business has been great for us. My team has a great job. They're able to do a lot of things outside of business, and I believe that's something that you should do also. So today, what I'm going to go over with you is I'm going to show you where this is all going, and importantly, how we got here. At the end of it, you're going to know more than 99% of people know more about this commission than most of your competitors and brokers out there in the state. So we'll go over the $5 billion lawsuit verdict, its impact on the industry, how we got here and why it's happening, why the DOJ wants changes, what's the future of NAR. Importantly, learn how to set your fee, negotiate your fee, and collect your fee no matter what's offered in MLS, including $0. Okay, it was allowed to put $1, now it's gonna be $0 coming up. And bottom line, what's the future of real estate? Where's the industry going? So how many people here know about this little lawsuit here? Good, I'm with the right crowd. How many of you guys know that this is not just the United States that's battling this right now? Our friends up north in Canada also have facing the same lawsuit, okay? Not as many people. How many people know that a buyer being paid from a seller is just something that's done in North America, Canada and America? Nowhere else in the world that's done, okay? In Europe, there's no such thing as a buyer's agent being paid by the seller, never has been. Nowhere in the world is it done except for America and Canada, okay? So before this event, I ran a survey. I asked the public, other agents out there that probably aren't at this event, how much do you think the commission lawsuit is going to affect real estate? The answers were, just sign a buyer's agreement, everything's going to be okay. The other answers were, this lawsuit's going to dismantle the real estate industry and buyers will go directly to the listing agent versus paying buyer's agent out of pocket. Or 80% of more real estate agents will go out of business and this will be nuclear to the real estate industry. Here were the results. We saw that 23% of people said, just sign a buyer's agreement, everything's going to be okay. 33%, a third of people said these lawsuits are going to dismantle real estate and people go directly to the listing agent. And 80% pulled the nuclear card and said 80% of real estate agents, 43% of people said 80% or more of agents will go out of business and this will be really detrimental to the industry. So the bottom line is something's going to happen between those three, okay? Right? But this isn't the time to panic, okay? But it is the time to look and really accept it. You know, denial is not just a river in Egypt. It's something that's very dangerous in a time of crisis. So we need to look at how we can resolve this, how we can move on from this, and how did we get here? So going back, Danny said this, in 1993, buyer agency was created, okay? Prior to 93, all agents represented the seller during sub-agency, okay? Just a little note there was about 750,000 agents in 1993. The internet was not widely used. If buyers wanted to get information for houses, they had to go to a real estate agent. Was anybody selling real estate back in 1993 here? Okay, a couple people. So you remember the real estate books, right? That was the only information. You guys would carry these big books around. All realtors were identified because they had big left arms, okay, from carrying these books around. But importantly, the only way that you get information of these houses for sales, you had to contact a realtor. It was great. If you wanted to get information, it was no scripts or anything. It's like, you know, you had to go contact a realtor, okay? But unfortunately, it also made the industry rife for basic corruption, where if you weren't paying out a buyer's agent enough back then, they could just easily delete that from the book by tearing it out of the book, and that listing no longer existed. And it was very common. If you talk to the people that were doing that, that's exactly what happened. So everybody was held hostage to keep the apple cart going. Everybody pays out the same, and that continues. We fast forward to 2006, okay? The invention of basically Zillow, okay? In 2005, I believe it was, the Department of Justice sued NAR. You need to open up this information, MLS data, to the public, give it to everybody. Okay, NAR fought. You know, a lot of people think that NAR just gave the information. They fought, but unfortunately, you cannot fight the DOJ. The DOJ is too big. You will lose. Okay, and they lost. They settled. Buyers now had access to all the houses for sale without having to call a real estate agent. Okay, it was very different now. It opened up to the public. Zillow was invented. Zillow could give estimates to home sellers. Sellers could find out what their house was worth without having to contact a realtor because all the data was out there. Everybody, including every real estate company in the world, thought commissions would go down from that point. And at that point, the average commission, according to all the sources out there, was about 6%. NAR membership in 2006 was 1.3 million members. We fast forward, we look at kind of a timeline from 1993 all the way to 2018. The average commission was 6% in 93, 750,000 members. Zillow was invented, as I just went over, 6% still the commission, 1.3 million members. All the way to 2018, the average commission is still 6%, and there's 1.4 million members. So the Department of Justice really questioned that. They said, how is this industry growing? How is this a service industry, the only service industry since the internet's been invented, including travel, florists, everything else, is going up in fees? So the DOJ does what the DOJ does. They sue NAR for anti-competitive behavior, saying, hey, you're not allowing everybody to change commissions, things like that, and negotiate. They settle, but DOJ comes back in 2020. A lot of you guys are doing business when they started saying, hey, you can no longer say it's free to use buyer agency, okay? Because DOJ was saying, hey, you got to stop telling the buyers it's free to use you because it's not free to use a buyer's agent, okay? Who pays the commission here? When a sale happens, who brings the money for the commission?
Buyer.
The buyer, so who pays the commission? Okay, so we can't say that it's free, right? But for what, 50 years, realtors were coming out there and saying it's going to be free? Okay, so DOJ made NAR stop doing that, okay? And then the lawsuits come out. You guys have heard this lawsuit, we already talked about it. Anywhere settled the lawsuit very quickly, $83.5 million they settled for. RE/MAX settled for $55 million. From what I've understood, what I've been told, that's about half of cash holdings that RE/MAX has, according to their reports, okay? That's a lot of money, okay? They keep on acting like they have billions of dollars, or people think they do, okay? That's a lot of money. June 2023, DOJ reopens the case. They are watching this very closely. According to its brief, the DOJ wants to resume its investigation for $100 billion that broker fees is paid to Americans and their clear cooperation rule. The clear cooperation rule, okay, says that you can only sell real estate the way NAR says you sell real estate, okay? Does that sound very competitive to you? No. And a sudden reversal 2 weeks before this goes to court, NAR backpedals and say, hey, we never said you had to put a dollar amount in there. You could put $0. It's okay, DOJ says we don't care. 0% commission is not enough. This is referring to the MLS PIN case. Anybody been watching that up north, Massachusetts? Massachusetts, the Norziak, don't quote me on the name, lawsuit, same thing. It's going after a couple big brokerages out there saying everybody's price fixing. And Department of Justice jumped in the middle of this case when RE/MAX wanted to settle. I think anywhere wanted to sell, it doesn't matter. And MLS PIN wanted to settle for $3 million. And they were about to, the Department of Justice says, well, let's wait 3 months or 2 months before you allow them to settle. Let's see this whole case play out with all these other lawsuits, okay? The government said the deal wasn't enough. MLS PIN said, hey, we're gonna allow our agents to put $0, okay? Department of Justice said that's not enough, that's just tweaking the rule. Real Estate Board of New York to decouple buyer agent commissions. This just happened, let me see the date on this one, October 20th. Starting January 1st, listing agents in New York would no longer be able to provide compensation to the buy side of the agent, okay? Anybody familiar with this? Anybody sell real estate in New York? Okay, so you can see where states are trying to bring this. So January 1st, this is just coming out here. And then all of a sudden we see the jury award $5 billion to the home sellers in Missouri. That's a lot of money, guys. It was very swift how they delivered this. 2.5 hours, the jury came back, unanimous decision, guilty. Okay, so if you guys think that they're gonna find some way to retry this trial and the same result's not gonna happen, it was 2.5 hours the jury came back and said guilty, okay? It wasn't a long deliberation going back and forth, it was pretty quick. Right after that happened, the plaintiff's attorney, Michael Ketchmark, all but confirmed a sequel when he filed a new lawsuit immediately after the ruling, this time against fresh roster of defendants, EXP, Redfin, Weichert, you name them, all started over. More lawsuits to come. Sitzer Burnett, $5 billion. The Moral Court, that's going in 2024. That's $40 billion. $40 billion. Gibson filed October 31st. EXP, Compass, NAR, $600 billion. They're estimating that at. $200 billion claim with Trev, that's $600 billion. Batten 1, that just started. Batten 2, class action lawsuit. That's an interesting one we'll talk about. Burton filed November 6, 2023. So you see all these copycat lawsuits coming out? Okay, I don't know how these companies are gonna make it. They don't have this kind of money, okay? But the biggest thing you wanna look at is the Department of Justice, because that's what's gonna change things very quickly out there. So how many other copycat lawsuits are pending? Our leadership, NAR, toxic culture and sexual harassment, the president steps down. An interview with 29 current and former NAR employees and leaders, including 19 who said they endured sexual harassment on the job. Okay, he was sending pictures on our dues, on our money that we give them to the female employees. Great guy there. NAR CEO Bob Goldberg resigns about a week after they lose the case, $1.8 billion. Redfin leaves NAR and calls on the brokers and agents to file suit. Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Real Estate, Sotheby's International Realty, RE/MAX are severing their alliances to the National Association of Realtors, according to Inman News. So why is this happening? Very simply, if you follow the commissions from 1993 all the way through 2006, all the way to 2018 to today, really from the 80s, the same fees have been charged. Why? Well, when sellers all ask you to lower the commission and they find the training from all these franchises that told the agents to say, if you pay an agent X, less X percentage to sell the property, no one will show it and the house doesn't sell, that is collusion. And that's why they've been found guilty. It's black and white, the training's there. That's not competitive when everybody says the same thing. It keeps the prices artificially high. We see this in the state of Rhode Island. Many of you guys don't know this, but this happens every day. NAR and the statewide MLS allow alternative compensation rules that some brokers like to use to punish other brokers who don't keep the apple cart going. They will pay them less than what's offered in MLS. Now, we all think we're in a system that whatever MLS is offered, you have to abide by that. Not if you send them a rule out there. This is something that statewide MLS does not have to adopt, okay? But they do, and they do little to no regulation out there, and no one's ever been able to answer me the question, okay, how does this benefit the consumer? It doesn't. It benefits keeping the apple cart going, and that's why these lawsuits are out here, because it's been really just a circle of everybody just taking care of everybody, and it's come to an end. For 50 years, this is how real estate's been done. It's a long time for a model to continue to be able to do that. So is this cooperation or collusion? The DOJ sees this all as collusion and price fixing, and you can predict what's going to happen in the future by looking at the past. DOJ will settle, NAR will roll over and do what DOJ wants. DOJ wants buyers' agents to be paid by buyers, and it's to be negotiable, not a set fee that's already set before the house even sells. Many brokerages will go out of business because they rely on a huge volume of agents to work this way for them to be profitable. I'm going to say it, and you guys don't have to believe it, but we see the industry as broken. The numbers and the statistics make this clearer than I can by just looking at the median gross income, what realtors make. It's below $50,000 a year. First-year agents take home less than $9,000 a year. 80% of all agents, brokers do not make it past their fifth year. 95% of agents, brokers earn under $100,000 a year. That's agents and brokers too. Less than 1% earn over $250,000 a year. 88% of real estate professionals fail at their own finances, and 87% of all customers say they will go back and do business with the same agent again, yet 84% don't. Why we do it? We see the real estate industry as broken. We see the rules it makes and the way it operates are self-serving to benefit itself, not the customer. We believe in thinking and operating differently than the industry. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. Let me explain that to you. First of all, if you want to survive this storm, you have to pivot. You need to change your paradigm. What's a paradigm? A paradigm is the way that you view the world, the way you see things, things that have shaped your thoughts and understandings, what influences you, things you were told, things you were taught. It's everything that you've been told. And in this case, we're going to talk about your paradigm and how real estate is sold, because we need to switch that if we want to survive that. So you change your paradigm, you change your life. The better way is not found on doing what most brokers and agents do out there. It's found in trying to improve what they do. It's found in doing it a different way. This is why we launched Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Let me explain that to you. It's no secret that my team and I have excelled in the real estate market. For over a decade, we've successfully worked with buyers receiving payment from buyers regardless of what is offered in MLS. Throughout this time, our dedication to buyer representation has consistently resulted in higher compensation than what's offered in MLS. This is because our system does things different than what 99% of people do. As you see, we've discovered that there's no part of the industry norms and standards that you can do to become super successful. It's almost like the rules that they make are to hold you back, to keep you guys all in the same sandbox and operate the same way and get the same results. Our experience has shown that the more you do what the majority does, the greater likelihood you will not achieve success. So I'm gonna go over with you guys today how we work with buyers. I'm gonna open that up to you. We'll go over a lot of questions at the end, but I'll show you how to get paid no matter what, okay? Now, one thing we're not gonna be able to talk about because we got a room of all different people is commissions. That's gonna be setting your own fee, whatever you think you're worth, and I think you guys understand that. But you need to have a buyer conversion system. I'm gonna talk a lot about that. Am I going too fast? I've had a lot of coffee before I started. We're good? All right. So we're gonna go over the buyer conversion system. We need to start off and understand that purchasing a home, okay, is a process, not an event. Okay, what I mean by that is, purchasing something, maybe you're hungry, you buy a sandwich, okay, that's an event. But purchasing a house is a process. People don't wake up in the morning, hey, I need a house, and go buy a house that day, right? Usually there's something that happens, maybe they wake up, the house is too big or too small, whatever, they need to sell. They go on the internet, they start looking at what things are for sale. 2 or 3 months later, maybe they go to some open houses, they meet an agent, they get pre-approved at one point down the line, maybe not, who knows, okay? They make some offers, they buy a house. So you have to have a way of attracting clients to purchase a property. We have a way of identifying those prospects who are ready to move now and in the future, and we have ways to engage them, okay? The best way I could train you guys is how we train ourselves and how our team works, okay? So I'm gonna talk a lot about how our team works. We make sure all the area prospects have top of mind consciousness of who we are, what we offer, and how that benefits them. But you need to start working before even the buyer's agreement to start building a funnel. How many people do click funnels here, some kind of funnel advertising? Okay, there you go, great. Thank you, Jimmy, for coming. Appreciate you. So you need to have a funnel, a lead generation funnel, and a system to attract buyers and sellers. A lot of you guys do pay-per-click maybe, Facebook advertising. What it is you're building a funnel, but you need to have a system of what you do when those leads come in there. So you stay in touch with those leads, and then you stop forcing them down the funnel and build a system that can identify the warm leads versus the now leads versus the cold leads. And I recommend just throw the cold leads away. Who wants cold leads, right? So here's a copy of our lead flow chart. We've been following this for a number of years. It basically starts on the left where the prospect gives us a call. The admin team members pulls the leads, enters into our contact management system, and then distributes the leads to our inside sales department, okay? Our inside sales department makes first contact, and basically 3 things can happen with every single one of our leads, okay? The 600 plus houses we sold last year, every single one of those clients started off with this lead funnel, okay? They could either book an appointment, the ISA, they could drop the lead because it's poor quality, or they determine there's more follow-up. The majority of these leads have more follow-up because purchasing a house is a process, not an event. So we stay in touch with them, that whole entire process as they're moving forward. Once the OSA, when I say the word OSA, that's outside sales agents, that's a realtor on my team, okay? They go on the appointment, they either sign a listing contract, a buyer contract, or they determine that the prospect needs more follow-up, they hand it back to the ISA, and the ISA follows up with them. That's an example, okay, of a follow-up system. But just like we wouldn't begin marketing and showing a seller's home without a signed listing agreement, you shouldn't start working with a buyer and showing a buyer home without a signed buyer's agreement. The reason though, many of you say you sign buyer's agreement, but do not sign buyer's agreements is because the buyer does not want to sign a buyer's agreement because the agent doesn't give them any reason to do so. They don't demonstrate any meaningful benefits out there. So you need a system that systematically demonstrates value, and we're gonna talk about that today. And of course, you have to have real benefits to give them to demonstrate. So make sure you have that also. So to have benefits, let's step into the buyer's shoes and find out what's most important to a buyer. Okay, the first thing is you want to have a full understanding. The buyer wants you to have a full understanding of what they want in a property, up-to-date, thorough knowledge of homes on and off the market, superior negotiating skills, specialized knowledge on the best possible financing options out there, a service program that makes it quick and easy for them to preview homes that they're interested in, and you need to have a way to demonstrate that. So ask yourself, how are you demonstrating to your prospective buyers that you can give them superior services in all these areas? And we talked a lot about value, right? And this is one of my favorite quotes out there. Price is only an objection in the absence of value, okay? Understand this. If you're getting beat up on your price all the time, whatever you charge, it comes back to the value that you're offering the customer. If they don't see the value, they don't want to pay that, okay? So you got two options. You can go the route that every business goes down before they go out of business, which is cheapening themselves, going cheap. And that is the first way out of business. Or you can value stack. I've always value stacked versus doing that, okay? Give the person more value than they would get, okay, doing this themselves or even just paying this fee. It's like the best way I could describe sales is when I'm selling you something that is of such value that you feel ridiculous not buying it, that means you did a good job. That is the idea of what you're trying to give these people's value, is a ridiculous amount of value. So they would feel ridiculous not moving on and signing on with you, okay? The other thing is too, being able to sift and sort who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with, okay? My team here, what we use is the acronym FIRM. And essentially when deciding whether you agree to work with a certain buyer, you should ask yourself these 4 questions. Are they firm? Firm means F for financially stable. Can they buy a house? Okay. Are they interested in signing a buyer's agreement? Guys, you're going to find half the people you meet with aren't interested in signing a buyer's agreement. That's okay. If you have enough business, you could just kind of roll with that and you'll find the other half that are. Okay, but you need to make sure it is someone that is interested in signing a buyer's agreement. Are they realistic in their purchase expectations? And are they motivated to purchase a home? The best way to get these answers is just come out and ask straightforward these questions to them. We use a form. You guys are welcome to copy it. The form to determine whether these buyers are firm or not, that we just go through as we're going basically over the interview process when we bring a buyer in. We go over this, we find out all these things if we want to move forward with these people. So now at this point, you need 5 things, okay, to be able to make this work. Number 1, you need a system to attract buyers. We talked about that, a funnel, whether advertising you're going to do. Then you need a process that filters those now buyers versus the follow-up, the future buyers. You need a buyer to meet with. That's very important, okay? Benefits presentation with benefits to give them, okay? And a buyer's agreement for them to sign. We do a buyer's presentation, and then we sit down, and that's really where we're value stacking the buyer of why they should do business with us above all other choices, including going to the seller directly, okay? So we go over our presentation. I'm sure your brokerage offers you some type of presentation. This is when you pop that up and go over that with them, and then you sign a buyer's agreement, okay? The buyer's agreement is just like a listing agreement. The buyer's agreement tells the people, okay, this is how long the contract is, this is what you're gonna pay me, okay, to purchase the property, and this is when it expires, and this is how I represent you, okay? They sign that, and then they go make offers on houses. Sounds simple, right? So a little advice, finding a house, it's really about really framing the buyer up, their expectations the whole entire time, okay? So when we find the buyer a house, we have an agreement, we go look at houses with them as right away, we get an offer on the property, but before we get an offer on the property, we want to find out about the house. So we'll pick up the phone. A lot of times we'll do this with the buyer there, okay? Or we'll ask the listing agent, do they have any offers on the property? Is it still available? Okay, if I get you an offer in the next 30 minutes, when can you present it? And then we'll ask them to email the disclosures if they're not online. What's the seller's time frame for closing? Is there anything really important to the seller I should know and try to include in the offer? And finally, how's the flexibility on price? I know a lot of people hate hearing that question, like, oh, the agent asked me how flexible they are on price, okay? Realize we have the buyer there. If you're gonna come back and say there's no flexibility, there is flexibility, you're helping us because the buyer is hearing that from the seller's agent. There's no flexibility. So I'm not the bad guy, I'm just telling you what they're telling us, okay? So it's not something that they think that we're not telling them the truth or anything, they're hearing it right from the horse's mouth. And then we go over those numbers with the buyer, see what they wanna do. We create the offer. I recommend going right to purchase a sales agreement. I don't think there's a reason just to go with an offer, but it's up to you what you wanna do. Obviously include the check, the statement signed by the buyers, a pre-approval, okay? And now the big question. How do I collect my fee? Well, you got 4 options to collect your fee. You can collect a fee and ask the seller to pay that for you. You can get the buyer to pay that for you per your contract. You can do a little of both. You can ask a little of A, a little B, the seller to help pay for it, the buyer to help pay for it. Or you could roll the buyer fee in as a closing cost. Now, just a note, you can't ask the listing agent for a piece of that, okay? That's a violation of the Code of Ethics. I think most people know that. We use this document, and we let the buyer decide how they want to pay us, okay? The young lady, someone in the back asked, how do you get paid if there's not enough money? Well, the buyer's got to bring the money to closing, okay? Credit card, Venmo, whatever way they want to pay us, okay? We give them the options, okay? I don't know if you can Venmo that much money, I'm just joking. But the options are out there, how they want to pay us. But this is also about firming up the buyer when you're working with them, okay? You can't work for somebody and not make any money. That doesn't make sense, okay? Here's something that'll pay for your $50 seat while everybody's here, okay? Getting paid, okay? I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about this. There's can be a lot of jealousy in this business, okay? And what I've noticed from years ago for doing this is if the listing agent knows you're gonna make a higher commission than them, they will do everything to try to pull that deal apart. So you cannot let that agent know you're getting paid more than them because they will get jelly. I know you guys might not believe it, but it happens. I've had people tell me, I'll be dipped in you know what, that you're gonna get paid more than me, okay? So unfortunately, if you just put in the purchase sales agreement, buy a, seller to pay X percent, and that's more than maybe what they're making, they're gonna start nibbling away those closing costs. So the best way that we've been able to do this is we just make it a blanket offer. Let's say seller to pay $10,000 towards buyer closing costs, and then on page 6, we use this paragraph. Closing costs as referenced on page 1 are include, but not limited to, attorney fees, intangible tax, title insurance, title exam fees, buyer agent fees, lender inspection fees, appraisal fees, tax service fees, underwriting fees, courier fees, loan origination fees, okay? This is what we call a shit sandwich, okay? We're identifying up front what's all the allowable closing costs, so little later when the agent gets all upset and tries to pull the deal apart, we already agreed upon what is buyer closing costs, right? Now, just for everybody's knowledge, a buyer's agent's closing costs commission is an allowable closing cost credit. It has been forever, okay? That's been something a lot of people didn't know about, so it is an allowable closing cost. You can roll it in there, but this is just to make it much smoother that everybody agrees upon when we went to purchase sales agreement that the buyer, that they're using some of this as a buyer agency fee, okay? Failure to put this in your paragraph on sales agreements while representing the buyer may result in the inability to collect your fee. Now, things are changing very fast. Like I said, we've been doing this for a while, so we had to find ways to pivot. But as Kyle alluded to, we don't need to get in the way of making sales. A lot of times that happens out there. And I will tell you, Kyle's great to do business with because he just wants to get the deal done. But there's so many people in this industry that just make it so much more difficult than it has to be. Just the buyer wants to buy the house, the seller wants to sell it. We can remove our egos and just sell the house. But sometimes real estate can be like a bunch of bowl of crabs. Like, if I put on the table there a bowl and I put a crab in it, and that crab will crawl out in about 30 seconds, okay? But if I put 3 crabs in that bowl and one crab starts to pull out, what happens? One of the crab pulls them right back down, okay? There's no need for that in this business, okay? We can represent our people and just put deals together, but you will need this because this will be a problem. Listing agents will get jelly when you get paid more than them. So if there's one thing I taught you today, that will pay for your $50 seat 100 times over. So it's funny, we all talked about this post today. I'm gonna talk about it. This post came out this weekend, it was pretty hot. It talks about all the things that a realtor does to sell real estate. They work 40 hours a week, make $10,000 a year, whatever, $31,900 a year. They got to deal with broker splits, office rent, utilities, MLS fees, NAR fees, local association realtor fees, E&O, extended auto insurance, self-employment. There's like 90 things then after that, what the buyer does, and the 90 things what you have to do for a seller. And I saw this on Facebook and I really wanted to talk about it because it really segues a lot of what I'm going to talk about the real problems is. The primary challenge that many of you are facing right now cannot be resolved simply by signing a buyer's agreement. The key to overcoming this challenge lies in consistently generating more business and focusing on high value tasks, not 89 of those 90 things in there that pay basically $5 an hour to do. The answer also is not generating more leads. Leads suck. Am I the only one here that believes that? Who here loves calling leads? Okay, we got one person out of 220 people. ISA. Okay, so the answer is not doing more, is what I'm trying to say. It's not just that leads suck. Leads calling is a very tough job. It takes a special person to be able to do that. I've done it for years. It's not my favorite thing, But are you guys finding it's harder to get people on the phone? Okay. Prospects are no longer answering the phone. A survey published by ZipWhip shows 87% of respondents ignore calls from unknown numbers. Pew Research reveals only 19% of Americans generally pick up cell phone calls from unknown numbers. They now have cell phone services like, was it Sprint? I think it was Sprint. Does Sprint exist anymore? I don't know. T-Mobile, there it is. Yeah, whatever. So T-Mobile won't allow an unverified number. If you even get it, it just goes right to voicemail. And according to Entrepreneur Magazine, 75% of millennials won't even answer their phone, doesn't matter who it is. Okay, is this true for the millennials? Just show me your hands. I have millennials that work for me, and then when I call them, they'll pick up and they're like, I just know it's you automatically because you're the only one that calls me. So I guess that's true. So the problem with calling leads, guys, is you're trading time for money. We've all been told this before. You're in business for yourself, right? We're all 1099. Danny was talking about that. We're all 1099, meaning you're in business for yourself. A recent study indicated that the average lead conversion from people that you talk to was only 2 to 3%. So you have to talk to the people. We see it's harder, okay? But let's see how that breaks down. Now, I know these numbers because we've been generating, I don't know how many leads, millions of leads at this point over my tenure in real estate. I know it takes to talk to 50 people, about 140 pretty good leads, okay? You need to speak to 50 people to get one closing. There's a process of then converting that lead, staying in touch with that lead, showing that lead houses, navigating the 4 to 6 weeks to 8 weeks to 6 months of pending to closing time. If you add up all those hours from writing the ad to closing, it's 184 hours. Taking account that you paid $15 per lead, $15 per lead is pretty cheap. I hope you guys would agree with me. $15 leads usually don't convert that well. The amount though, just for the case of this study here, $15 per lead, that's $2,100 per closing. In total, you'll have 184 hours of dedicated work with an average gross commission of $7,200. If you have an 80-20 split, you take that out and the advertising cost out, that's $3,660 in net income, resulting in an hourly rate of $19.89 per hour. If we assume a 40-hour work week with 2 weeks of vacation, totaling 2,000 hours of work week a year, you can expect to complete approximately 10.86 transactions in that amount of time. With a net income of $3,660 per sale, your estimated yearly net income would be about $39,747. No mistake there. That's why the median gross income of realtors is below $50,000 a year. You're doing too much work. What business, what company hires a salesperson and says, hey, you need to generate the leads. So you're in charge of advertising. You're in charge of marketing. You're in charge of calling the leads. You're inside sales agent. Then you need to convert them, go on the OSA, do all the research, meet with the people, you know, those 119 things that happen. There's no business in the world that has that, okay? They love 1099 employees because you'll do all those things until the 3 to 4 year mark comes up when you realize I'm not making any money doing this. Why? Because you're trading time for money and that's always a loss. As a realtor, your highest per value, dollar per value, your hour per value is working with clients, not chasing leads. Many of us suffer from the roller coaster income. You guys know what I mean when I say roller coaster income? You ever go from like you have no business, so what do you start doing? You start prospecting, right? You run some ads, knock some doors, farm, whatever it is, okay? And you find a deal. So you stop prospecting. Your business goes from here, you sell a property, but now you have nothing else in the hopper. You drop down, you gotta stop prospecting again. You go through that over and over again, that cycle, okay? The antidote is to spend more time doing what you're good at, focusing on helping clients sell or buy, not prospecting. So you might think at this point, I'm just gonna get around all this, guys. I'm just gonna get listings. Okay, let's just go get listings. But we're finding it's more and more costly to generate seller leads. Why? iBuyers are gaining a lot more attention out there. Did you know that 1 out of 4 home sellers last year sold to an iBuyer, an investor, or a corporation? Okay, house didn't even come on the market. You didn't even have the opportunity to bring your buyer in there. iBuyers are gaining a lot more market share. More and more homeowners are staying in their homes longer. Okay, we're seeing that this year. Okay, people are married to a 2-point-whatever% interest rate. Okay, and less homes are selling, and the highest number of agents in around over 10,000 agents you're competing with. And there's continued more problems, guys. Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. Take your listing, MLS makes you take all your marketing off it. They don't want to know who's the listing agent is. NAR, Realtor.com, Redfin build billion-dollar companies by taking your listing and then selling it back to you from the buyers for 40%. It's a great model. Real estate commissions continue to decline. MLS boards force you to operate like everybody else. If you're not following a proven written plan and system for predictably getting business and using that business to get more business, you will go out of business. Still more problems, transactional, trading time for money, income roller coaster, wearing all the hats, trying to be all things to all people, not getting a steady stream of sellers and buyers calling you, not making enough money per sale, and little to no repeat business is a model problem. Being profitable regardless of what the market conditions are. That's just before all these lawsuits. So this lawsuit, $600 billion, guys, NAR, along with every real estate franchise, isn't worth $600 billion. I don't know how they're going to pay this, okay? But that's not even the biggest lawsuit. The mother of all commission lawsuits was filed November 2nd, 2023. They don't even put a price tag on it. They just said it's more than $600 billion. I don't know how much that is. This one is different. This one is coming from the buyers against the realtors. They're saying buyers had to pay more for a house because agents artificially inflated the price, making us pay more. And they claim their steering was made easy by the blank commission rules NAR enforces. This is in all 37 states, including Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut. It's anybody that bought a house from December 1st, 1996 to today. That's a lot of people. In 37 states, including California. You know what the average commission is in California? Okay, Hawaii, that's a lot of people. I can already see the ads popping up. Have you been affected by buying a house since 1996? So how many copycats are going to be out there? There's more to come. So just signing a buyer's agreement, guys, is not going to solve the problem. That's why I want to go over with it, because I know that's what a lot of people are teaching out there. They're teaching things they've never done before, okay? Because it's just the way of, we don't know what we're going to do, and we're kind of screwed in this situation, okay? Buy agreements are just a vehicle to get paid. You need to get people in the vehicle to pay you. Does that make sense? Okay? How are you going to show value to the buyers if the buyers could buy it cheaper without an agent? Why should they pay you? These are questions we need to ask if we want to survive this. NAR, along with many brokerages, are gone. They're going to go bankrupt with either the weight of these lawsuits or just lack of membership. Okay? DOJ will win and force the buyer's agents to be negotiable between the buyer and the seller won't be automatically doing that. It won't be some set fee. So buyers will shop agency for value. Agent fees will probably sharply decrease, just like the Department of Justice wants. MLS will be forced to offer access to data of people outside of the industry. You no longer will probably have to be an NAR agent to be part of MLS. How many people are excited about that? I am, right? How many people would remain in NAR, okay, if you didn't have to do it to be in MLS? Okay, that's pretty much what I expected, right? The only reason we're part of NAR is because to be able to have access to MLS, okay? For the majority, that's what most people surveyed come back. So we need to be able to answer this question: why should I pay you $10,000 versus going directly to the seller? Okay, as I said before, we can live in denial and act like this isn't happening, but this is how it's done in everywhere else in the world, okay? Telling them you work hard, you're honest, and negotiate hard for them is not gonna be enough. Meaningless things like, hey, I'm number one, I got the biggest brand, I have lots of designations after my name. The people don't care, okay? It's what's in it for me is what the radio station that they're standing into, they're listening into. They will want facts and proof that you solve their problems better than what your competitor offers or just going to the seller's agent. So the buyers are gonna shop agents. They wanna know how many houses you've sold, how much you'd be able to negotiate to save the clients. If I'm gonna pay you $10,000, I don't wanna do it and break even, I wanna save more money. The vast majority of buyers won't be able to do this. The vast majority of buyers will, just go right to the listing agent versus paying additional fees like in Europe. And 80% of agents will go out of business when there's no automatic co-broke pay if they're not able to pivot. So at this point, I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts in the room here. This is just your survey, and I'm gonna share the results with you. If you open up your phone and you scan this QR code, it'll give me a minute to have a glass of water, okay? But I want to see if you guys answer this, what you guys think the rate is as far as what's going to happen in the real estate industry. My head's blocking that. Thank you. So I want to see what you guys think. Is it just going to be sign a buyer's agreement and everything will be okay? Think the lawsuit's going to dismantle the real estate industry and buyers go directly to the listing agent versus paying buyer's agent out of the pocket? Or do you think 80% or more real estate agents will go out of business? This is nuclear. I'm going to take this off in a minute, but hopefully this is going good for you guys. Hope you're learning some things. Like I said, today is really about kind of changing the paradigm of going forward with these things. So, did you guys get it? You want me to go back? I can go back. You got it? No? Good. Here we go. So, the next question we need to ask is what's not going to change in the next 10 years is more important than what is going to change. We know that people are social creatures. People will still be social creatures in 10 years. Personalized customer service, people will still value highly personalized customer service. Politics will still be politics. They'll be corrupt and stupid. Death and taxes will remain inevitable. But let's ask is, what items in real estate won't change in the future? Will your customers always want to chat with someone on the phone? Always want someone local who can see and talk to? An easy sale versus top dollar. Okay? Today, more than ever, businesses have to shift the focus from constantly dropping their prices and move forward to doubling down on what customers like, value, so you can stay in business. So we talked about the future of real estate. What is the future of real estate? Kyle alluded a lot to this, okay? And me and Kyle didn't talk before this. You know, we're kind of getting ready for the fight. So he stayed in his corner, I stayed in mine. But the future of real estate, I agree. The future of real estate, to be very blunt with you guys, is you are either going to be part of a super successful real estate team or you will build your own super successful real estate team. What is a super successful real estate team? Well, it's not just any team. It's a team that owns its own marketing system versus buying internet leads. One that has a system for getting paid no matter what is offered in MLS. One for double ending every seller listing they get. One for operating on a positive cash flow cycle on a system that's scalable. One that can handle thousands of transactions. One that offers value to the customers that they pay you 70% more than your competition. And one that attracts thousands of buyers and sellers per year and gives actual clients their agents, not leads. That kind of team, do you know of any kind of team that operates that way besides mine? And that's why I told you guys is for over 20 years, we've carefully crafted a highly successful team with the goal of elevating both the customer experience and the peak performance of our agents. Allow me to introduce the team system of the future, showcasing the immense advantages it brings to you. As an agent on a super successful team, you get a stream of clients calling you, not leads. You get a team around you, so you're able to focus on serving the client. You have leading edge tools and technology. You're able to easily provide your clients superior results, which leads them to refer to others and give you their repeat business. At the same time, work a normal work week. And a steady flow of clients, what that means, well, at our team, we generate over 1,000 motivated buyers and sellers that contact us every single month. We screen those prospects from the ones that are looking to do something in the future into now business. Inside sales agents on my team convert those leads to appointments. The agents on our team, their job is focused on converting those appointments to clients. Okay, we gave over 2,600 appointments, face-to-face appointments to our agents last year. So here's the secret sauce. This is what everybody always wants to know is how do I do it? Okay, it's very simple. Just get $5 million. Okay, that's what I spend a year. That's what we spend a prospect generation system every year. We screen the sellers and buyers who are looking to make a move now versus the future. The agents control when they want these appointments. We give our agents the appointments in their calendars when they want them. So they're in control. Our agents show up, demonstrate the value, okay, like a real sales system here, and we have actual value that the sellers and buyers want so badly that they're willing to sign a buyer's agreement with us. We find the buyer a home without using MLS. Learn how to stop using MLS, okay? Learn how to find off-market houses. Kyle alluded to this. Okay, it's very important if you want to survive. Telling a prospect, a buyer, hey, do you want me to send you more properties that you're already finding online? Okay, that's not really something that's unique, okay? Hey, I could send you some more properties that you're already finding on Zillow. Would you like some more of those? And you gotta pay me $10,000 to do that, right? Kyle talked about like how's Zillow gonna survive. I don't know how that phone call is gonna go. We can connect you with this buyer. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Yeah, before we go look at this house, you gotta pay me 10 grand. Okay, I highly doubt it's gonna happen. So that's why buying leads is ending very quickly. So agent shows the buyers homes on MLS and off-market properties. We go to the close and get paid a higher commission than the average agent, and we do such a great job, they give us referrals. That's the secret sauce. what a day in the life of a real estate agent on my team looks like. Agent opens up their calendar. They see appointments going to give it to them. They block off the days that they don't want to work. Example of agent's calendar on my team, this agent's been given 11 lucrative listing appointments in just 1 week. Weekends off. This is how a sales business works, okay? This is how if you worked for a Fortune 500 company as a salesperson, this is how you'd work, okay? Our prospect generation systems, like a funnel, filtering out the not yet ready leads and giving you the cream of the crop. This provides you face-to-face meetings with interested buyers and sellers, okay, with our leading edge inside sales department. Last month, we gave over 178 appointments to our agents. We're tracking this stuff forever. We're a very data-rich company. We track what works, what doesn't work. Every single month, you see this chart goes back to 2018, okay? That's what we focus on. The reason agents ever feel burnt out is because they wear too many hats. Talking a lot about that. You focus on helping clients buy or sell, and that's what you should be focusing on. That's where you're gonna get paid the most. You meet with the clients, sign the clients to buyer agreements, to sell agreements, you show the buyers homes, write offers, attend the home inspection, go to the closing, collect your fee, and rinse and repeat. That's what you should be focused on. That's the highest dollar per value, and I'm gonna show you that in a little bit. Our agents don't do any cold calling. That means all the transactions they did, the client contacted us first. You focus on finding them homes, we focus on finding you clients. How many houses could you sell if you no longer had to focus on those 90 things and you just focused on helping the client find or sell a home? A lot more houses, right? Okay, this is why we've sold more real estate than any team out there since 2008, okay? You can see our average agent on a team sells 25 homes per year. Some agents sell 50, 60, 70 homes per year, okay? Much more than the average agent production by unit than any other team or company out there. The bottom line, this is always a misnomer. A lot of people think you get paid less to work on the team, okay? Our average net commission to the agent, net, okay, is $4,767. 2023, our average agent sold 25 homes. That's a net income of $119,000. Average hours worked in the team's 35 to 40 hours. Some agents average 2 homes per month. Some agents sell 8 homes per month. Some make $250,000 to $300,000 net income. That's in the 0.001 percentile in the state. You control your freedom. It's on your schedule, not ours. And you're able to make and keep money by having a steady stream of business coming to you. You're no longer looking where the next deal is coming from. You have more opportunities, more sales equal more money. There's no expenses, marketing, advertising, prospecting. As a realtor now, you're able to focus on what you got in the business for in the first place, not lead generation, okay? And working more reasonable hours. We give everybody everything that we have on the team. This is the team of the future. This is the team. This is how things will work in the future, how you can achieve more success quicker, okay, to be able to have this become a reality, okay? And make and keep more money and have a better quality life. Look at the averages out there. The average agent industry, 1 to 3 years, makes $19 per hour. First year average on my team, $80,000 in their pocket, that's $40 an hour. Second year, over $100,000 to $150,000. That takes most agents 11 to 25 years to get to that number. We're doing that by the second year. Third year, $150,000 to $300,000 in net income. That's $150 an hour, okay? So just to really kind of question that as far as like getting paid more, it's because it's a steady stream of business. And you're able to enjoy a higher quality of life. Our mission is building you a high quality of life. We want you to experience the best life can offer. We're here to serve you. You're here to serve the clients. We put all people's interests ahead of profits always. As I said in the beginning, the better way is not found in doing what most agents and brokers do. It's found in trying to improve what they do. It's not found in trying to improve what they do. It's found in doing it a different way. And this is why we launched your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Our mission is to build quality lives. If you're interested in learning more about joining the team or building your own successful real estate team, you can scan the QR code, get more information out there. You can go to takehome100k.com. We can talk more about it. But I think the best thing we're going to get out of this, guys, is going to be the Q&A. A lot of things are going to come about how this stuff's done, what works, what doesn't work, okay? And be able to go from there. So thank you guys very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great job. Great job. I didn't think he'd do that in that many slides in that many minutes, but that was amazing.
I got that in 45 minutes.
I know, that was great. I think everybody's happy to see that this is moving ahead of where we thought we would be. I really don't want to give a break because when people leave, it's tough to corral them back together. So we're going to start the Q&A. We're going to come around the room too. I've got some registered questions that people fired in, but this is your chance to pick, prog, ask, defy, throw a piece of fruit. I don't care. Be respectful.
I can't have fruit. Sugar.
These gentlemen, yeah. But so we're going to have Kyle come back up. Thank you, Kyle. Woo! Yeah. Nathan is going to come back up. This is where, hold on.
I need to hydrate first.
This is going to hydrate. He's going to hit you with the thing.
Did Mayweather teach you?
Yeah, you better go back there. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. And then our last partner we're going to have up is Eric Maluk from Semper Home Loans. After running by the Q&A and talk, no, we're good. I'm going to just talk and walk at the same time. So I set up the 3 for you guys.
All right.
So the thought here was there were some questions already asked earlier from the young lady in the audience asking about how to figure out financing, right? What's allowable costs, what we can do to help finance buyers, and things of those nature. So Eric has been privileged, and I've worked with him for, you know, I don't know, 10, 12 years now, and we've done a lot of these different transactions together. So I think, again, we're getting over that fear factor of asking the right questions on what do we think is going to help our business and not hurt our business. Okay, so Hudson has got a microphone he's going to be running around in. Eric, you're mic'd up or not mic'd up?
Not really.
All right, we'll give you we'll get you a mic. I thought you were on point for that. So my first question, let's give a round of applause for the guys, obviously, again. They did a great job today. I feel as though, again, I saw a lot of heads bobbing. I saw maybe a couple going like this. I saw a couple like this. It's okay. It's okay to not think that everything that was talked about today fits your model. They're here to help you build your models and help you build your business in any way that they could. So I give them a lot of credit, not only for that, for accepting my offer to challenge themselves to come up here today and put on a great performance for you. So I'm going to start with the first question. Kyle, you can go first if you'd like. What were you both looking to accomplish today for the industry?
I had no idea.
Good answer.
I wrote it in like 5 minutes. No, I think my biggest accomplishment today was honestly to show that two people that compete at whatever level and whatever they do can coexist and can run a business in whatever way that fits them, and it's okay. And at the end of the day, you don't have to hate, you don't have to have a problem with, you don't have to cause issues. We just need to work together. That was honestly all I want to come in, and hopefully if you got that out of it, you heard what I was trying to say, but we can all coexist, we can all work together, and there's no reason for the friction back and forth that's been years and years and years of who's right and who's wrong.
Nathan, you want to just put a quick little comment on that?
You know, my biggest thing coming into this, guys, is really showing you guys the future. You know, Kyle and I operate very differently, and I respect the hell out of Kyle, how he does things. It's just two different ways to skin the cat. But what I focus on a lot of times in my business is like the future, is trying to be the visionary of the industry and trying to see where things are coming. Yeah, since 2008, we've seen this coming, like the compression of buyer agency fees, okay? Wasn't just me that was lowering buyer agency fees out there. This is just a compression that's happened in the industry. And really seeing this coming was just being ready for it. So it was really trying to help so many people of saying, listen, I can tell you the next future of real estate is you're either gonna work for a super profitable real estate team or you're gonna build your own. And that's what you need to focus on if you wanna survive this, because the competition is about to get unreal. And I don't think you're talking years. It's happening now. It's just gonna get unreal. And if you wanna survive, you just need to say, hey, I'm just gonna build this, or you know, I'm gonna join someone that's doing it. And then I'm gonna survive and thrive, or it's just gonna be a long, painful death that nobody wants to see you do. You guys are good. A lot of agents I talk to, you come and see me when it's too late. You're like, hey, I should have came and saw you when I started real estate, but you come and see me when you don't have any money left over and there's nothing anybody can do at that point because you don't have any money to survive. The 2 or 3 months is gonna take you to close on the property. So, you know, the best I could do that for you, get that up front for you guys, the better I could do for you.
So I always like to at least push the envelope just a little for you guys, not you, Eric, just yet. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. So why do you think so many agents or companies, you know, talk about both of you in either a positive or a negative when it comes to real estate, like your business models, what you do different, Kyle, than Nathan, or Nathan does different than the industry? So I'm going to let Nathan answer this one first, so Kyle can think about this one a little bit.
Thanks.
But because again, I've had conversations with probably half the agents in the room, and people are like, "How could you get those?" Like, people always have something to say. We talked about the high school tactics, the high school mentality. So
yeah, but I think people always have something to say, and I think it's very important you guys realize nobody that's doing better than you is ever going to talk down to you. It's always somebody coming from the bottom that's going to do that. Okay. I don't talk bad about Kyle. Kyle just talks bad about me. That's all. The issue is that you got to realize where those things are coming from. If you're loved and liked by your competition, you're not a threat. Yeah. If you're a threat, they're going to say things like, "I eat babies," "watch out," and crazy things like that. Because what else are they going to say? Look at their numbers and look at my number. Look at Kyle's numbers. I think in sports, I played a lot of sports when I was a kid. I love competition. I know Kyle loves competition. I think a true sportsman doesn't have to talk. They just look at the scoreboard, point to the scoreboard, and that shut everything up. When you're doing well, since 2008, we've been #1 in the state. What else is your competition going to say about you? And people do that on listing appointments. They'll come in there and they'll talk bad about Kyle. Kyle's going to come in there and eat your baby, whatever else like that. That's terrible business, guys. It makes you look terrible. It makes you look like low. Okay, compete, come up with value. What do you think is the best way to serve your client? Tell them all the valuable things you could do for them, how you can help them get more money for your house, and how you built a system to help make their life better. Or do you think it's about talking trash about the competition? Who can talk the most trash about the competition? So if you got people that are doing that in your life, maybe it's a broker that makes you afraid to come talk to us because they're going to bite you or something like that. You got to think where they're coming from. They're coming from fear, right? Is that how they run their business, with fear? So. Well,
I've seen Kyle put his whole, everything out there to help people, So Kyle, I'll let you speak on that too. I mean, obviously Nathan gets long-winded, but and you're short-winded.
I have a lot to talk
about. No, this is great.
I mean,
two different people. This is what you get.
I don't even think about it. I don't let it bother me. I mean, I've heard everything of what I do and what I am. And look, the reality is, can I be a jerk? Yes. Do I not have time or patience for things that are stupid or idiotic? Yes. But if you're fair and even and you're not combative, I will do anything to work with and help you. But once you attack me, I'm going to attack back. It's just what it is. I mean, it's just my personality. I'm fine and cool until you're not fine and cool back. And when I'm trying to be wicked calm and peaceful, and then the alternative comes out, it is what it is. But outside of that, listening to what people say or have to say or think is, that's your own opinion, and that's great, and wish you the best. But honestly, it has no impact on, what I do or how I can be better. So I don't even let it get in the way.
Thank you. Somebody once told me too, you wrestle a pig, you both get muddy, and the pig likes it.
Between you two,
that's the Gloucester guy. That's the Gloucester guy.
Who hasn't wrestled a pig yet? Come on.
All right, so we're going to introduce Eric. Eric, for people that don't know you, you've been in the industry. There you go. Run with it. Who are you, and what do you do best?
Eric Maluk. I've been doing this 20 years now. That's how old I am, I guess. But so Danny came to me about the buyer agency originally because obviously I do a lot of business with Kyle. So I had a lot of experience dealing with buyer agency. By the looks of things, you're all going to learn how to do buyer agency really soon.
Yeah.
So we've done over 1,000 transactions with Nathan over the last almost 8 years. So we've seen how buyer agency works, whether it's being incorporated in the closing costs, if it's being paid by the seller, if it's being paid half and half. There's a lot of things as a lender, you've got to be able to plan for this. It's really important because at the end of the day, the last thing anybody wants is that final CD. Hey, we're short funds because it wasn't communicated from the realtor to the lender. The lender didn't put it in there right. And at the end of the day, if it's the day of closing, everybody's going to be looking at you. That's the reality. They're going to be looking at you, and you're going to be looking at your paycheck. So me and Nathan have a lot of really good systems that we've put in place over the years. Communication's the #1, but the way that he does it, the way it's communicated to us, and we can plan for it, and like Nathan said, the amount of clients. That's really the important thing. You're going to need more clients. We already need more clients. We're down 50%. Kyle said that at the beginning, right? Yeah. We're down 50%. So we already need more clients. The most important thing is going to be figuring out how to get those more clients.
Questions? Somebody already got questions. Hudson, jump on some peeps.
I have a question for both. Kyle, I know you said you were a part of a few masterminds. On yourself, how much do you spend a year for personal development to increase your leadership skills, etc.?
I mean, look, the number is the number is what the number is. So don't take this any sort of way. Probably over 100. You know, I'm always doing stuff though. It's not even just about mastermind. It's about trial and error. It's about, like, my thing, and this is how I honestly feel. If I'm 50 years old or 45 years old or 55 years old and I'm still out here selling 400, 500, 600 houses a year, I lost. I didn't win. So for me, winning is leveling up, elevating, doing more. So we're always looking at different opportunities, different businesses, different startups, just being a true entrepreneur going forward versus just being a salesperson. And that's great if that's where you're at, but that's just not my goal. That's not my personal goal. I want to continue to elevate to other stuff. So I spend a lot of time and money on not only masterminds, but we take a lot of chances. And when I say we, I have a fantastic support system that helps with everything. This is not just me. I've got a great foundation of people that are behind me that allow me to take these different chances in other businesses that are better than any mastermind I could ever do. So at the end of the day, the trial and error and learning and keep growing, that's the biggest thing for me, is actually not being what I call getting paralyzed by the analysis, right? But actually doing it, actually doing something, taking a chance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now for Nathan, can you
Hey, one question. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, this guy. Can you break down the $5 million that you said you were spending a year for your so-called system?
Do you want to be doing hundreds of dollars or thousands? What would you like me to do? All right, so no, that's a great question. I'll break it down very easy with you, okay? We're going to do it by percentages, okay? So you have 100% pie right here, okay? The agents in my team make the largest slice of the pie. They make the lion's share of the kill. But realize we spend over $1 million a year marketing, attracting buyers and sellers, okay? So what's that? That's over $100,000 a month just in marketing. That's a big chunk of the pie. Let's say that's 20% of the pie right there, okay? So now you're somewhere near about 60% of the pie, okay? The extra 15% after that, actually about 20%, okay, is paying for the staff. We're very heavily put together with staff so the agents can focus on buying and selling, not banging signs on the property, doing Matterport tours, talking with the customer, okay, all those little things. So we have just the same number of staff members that we have on our team as we do agents. We have about 15 agents in the team, and we have about 15 staff members that handle that. So with that, that's about 80% of the pie right there, adding in, you know, office fees, stuff like that. Okay, so if you do that times, you know, $5 million, you get your numbers. Okay, and it leaves me a smaller profit than what the agents make at every sale. Okay, so that's what I tell agents is, like, if they're happy making the lion's share, it's more than what I make. We'll always do well together, right?
Did you say you only had 15 agents?
15 agents, yes, miss. Yeah, we're trying to build the Navy SEALs, not the Navy. Okay, we're, like I said, we're skilled agents. Okay, and teach them skills that they can't find anywhere else, and really leverage that skill so they can sell more houses.
All right, I have a question here. Your name? Brian Green. Brian, what's your question? For who?
So, for the panel. So
Okay.
first off, I want to thank you guys for getting together and coming out here. It's amazing for us as agents, for, you know, just to have you guys in the camaraderie between the two of you as the big dogs in the field. I guess my question is the Illinois settlement. I was looking at it and thinking, did they get rid of dual agency with that as well? Because if they come into Rhode Island and say, hey, if you guys, can't pay out a buyer's agent, if we get rid of dual agency, at least it doesn't have all the buyers going to you. And I think,
Right.
just your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Nathan, do you want to speak on this? Or Kyle? Either one of you?
Yeah.
Plead the
Well,
fifth.
this all started back in 1925. Listen, I don't know how they're going to get around the dual agency thing. I think they're also going to move agents in the future. It's just going to be transaction coordinated. They're just going to get rid of this representing people, because that's where most lawsuits, just so you know where they come from, is disclosures and dual agency. Okay, get rid of dual agency. Just be the transaction facilitator and all these things. I think that's what you'll see in a very short answer of where this business is going to go to solve that issue. I guess that's the best answer. Hopefully that answers what you're asking. Yep.
What's going on, guys? Sadiq over there.
Sadiq, where are you?
Okay, you got jokes on. I'm back here.
Stand up.
Oh, there you are.
All right, quick question. So obviously you can never have two #1 spots in any competition or any competitive field. So one, the first question is what really makes one of you guys the #1 individual in the game of real estate, right? Because the way I look at it, Nathan, you see more corporate sales like, and Kyle, you see more real estate system driven, right? But what actually drives one of you guys to be the #1 whole? Or who would you say is #1 in all true aspects?
Hold on,
I think he wants the gloves.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys, all these conversations is great for a pissing competition, but your consumer doesn't give two shits who's #1. You didn't go buy your car at the #1 dealership. You didn't say, hey, I got to go buy my F-150 from Tasca because they're #1, or Flood Ford. Okay, you care what's in it for me. What's the benefit? Okay, but just to simply answer that question, I'm #1.
I'm about to say, that's the most politically
My mom
correct
says I'm
bullshit
#1.
So everybody heard that. He can take that shit off his radio. No more #1. He's just regular.
That's it.
I do it because Kyle does it.
Guys, I have a question for you. Why do most agents fail by year 4? Kyle?
So I think the reason most people fail is they come in for the wrong reasons. They're in it because, and when I meet with a new agent, I'm like, so what makes you want to do this? I want to make a lot of money and have flexible schedule. Not really the right reason to kind of get started in anything. So I think when you enter something with the wrong motivation and you're just chasing dollars and you're just chasing money and you don't actually have a passion for it, or you don't really understand sales, or you don't really understand what you're doing, you have no chance. So I think because they enter for the wrong reason, they have no chance to make it out of the first 4 years.
I would probably answer taxes. IRS hate real estate agents because you guys don't pay taxes. By year 4, Uncle Sam finds you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you got to pay Uncle Sam back. And then all of a sudden
Thanks,
the game
guys.
changes, you don't get a job.
So, Yvonne, Shorty, do you want to stand on the chair so everybody can hear you? Yvonne, Susan. No, just talk.
So this question actually is for Eric. Eric, how do you foresee, or do you foresee, the mortgage industry pivoting with the buyer agreements and buyer compensation? Because as we all know, VA buyers, you're not supposed to charge a VA buyer compensation. How do you foresee that playing a role in everything that's happening?
I think there's going to be a lot of changes that affects mortgages. We're going to have some agents who are already struggling right now with 50% of sales. They may compress their own compensation by willing to do it as a discount and work themselves out of the business, which will cost us agents and partnerships and transactions. And then also, beyond that, I think some mortgage companies are going to try to go direct to consumer. You'll see some of the mortgage companies stop focusing on that rather than partnerships. I still feel that there's a lot of value in the partnerships. There's more value in that than direct to consumer. But it's going to be a lot of navigating that both sides are going to have to do. Mortgages went through a lot of changes years ago. Like I said, I've been doing this 20 years. I can remember where our fees were all paid up front. There was a time in mortgages where all of our money was charged in points. And that changed and it started getting built into the interest rates. Then, not even 5 or 6 years ago, they changed how we can be compensated. Our compensation couldn't fluctuate. We had to get paid a set percentage based on the loan size, not what was brought in on the loan. So we've had to navigate those things. So a lot of people that have been in mortgages a lot of years, we'll adapt. A lot of you will adapt. A lot of you will overcome this. It's it's the end of days. We just all got to open our eyes and look forward and make adjustments and figure out how we're going to navigate this and who we're going to work with, whether it be with a team that are up here, what lenders you're going to work with. There's definitely going to be changes in this industry on both sides.
Thanks, Eric. I have a question back here from Miss Ashley. Oh, sorry, Hudson.
Go ahead, you go. Go ahead.
Ladies before gentlemen. Go.
Actually, this is just a question for Nathan, who has been doing the buyer's agreement for a little bit longer. How do you overcome objections from buyers when you sit down with them and you introduce the agreement? What are some of the things that you teach your agents how to overcome these objections?
Can you give me an objection, for example, you're thinking?
I think probably just signing it. Like I'm unsure about signing this.
Sure.
I don't know, like money's tight,
I
or
understand.
we're first-time home buyers, so just like being hesitant to sign the paper overall.
Okay. Besides the fee between 0 to 10, assuming there was no fee, where would you be as far as 0 to 10 signing agreement? 0, you never would, or 10, you would sign this agreement?
I think that if I was a buyer,
Yep.
and someone sat down with me with a buyer's agreement, I would want them to overcome any objection that I had.
Sure.
So if I was like, oh, I'm unsure
doing
about
that.
this. So I think I would
Let's say you were a 10. Yes, would you sign an agreement if they in a 0 1?
Besides
0
the
to 10,
fee,
are you
everything that I went
comfortable?
over with you.
if someone talked me into it and
Yeah.
and basically told me the benefit
Sure.
of signing this.
So there's
I
the
would wanna hear
benefits.
the benefits
So
of signing
maybe
it.
the question is like, what benefits should you offer people? Okay, so if you know that the buyers, what's the buyer most interested in, that you have a full knowledge of what they're looking for in a house. You have exceptional negotiating skills to be able to negotiate that price. So maybe you could show them, okay, that you know what they're looking for. Maybe you start the presentation off of going through an MLS printout sheet of all the things they want a paved driveway. You know, the 200 things you could choose from an MLS input sheet. Use that of what they're looking for a house. Talk to them a lot about that, okay? Listen before asking questions, so you listen a lot. And then I would go over with the next part, okay, is negotiating your fee. Is if you're showing the value with that, you can show how good you are at negotiating houses. Maybe you could pull up the 100 houses, the 2,000 houses, whatever number of houses you've sold as a buyer's agent, and what was the average listing to sale ratio? So let's say you saved your client on average 3% off of the listing ratio, which is 2% more than the MLS average. The average sale price is $400,000, so that would be an extra $8,000 that you save your client. Not only that, you do all the negotiating for them. There's a time that they're going to save. I'm doing all these things for you, working through the home inspection. I'm going to help you even more, okay? And then finally, I would give them some assurances. People want assurances more than ever. That's why they go and sell their houses to iBuyers. It's because they don't want to deal with the question of, will my house sell or not? The same thing with buyers is, will you produce this or not? So maybe you can make them a guarantee that I'll save you exactly $10,000 or I'll pay you the difference. Some kind of assurance that those things would happen if you don't produce. Okay, those, for example, are a couple that we do.
Good, thank you. Person, you're up.
Thank you.
No problem.
My question is, so for all the new agents that are going to start implementing this, just a little background. I've been doing this since 2019, but a year in highlights when I ran into this issue, and Eric, you might be able to help. We all have our lenders, but we always have those buyers that come with a lender. Now, what have you done with that lender sees your fee and is absolutely against it?
Yes.
And cuts you out of the deal completely as opposed to the deal?
Yeah, that's a big one. You want to handle this, Kyle? I feel like I'm talking a lot. All right, I'll continue. No, I mean, this is something that I hope I can teach you guys the most with it. I've learned a lot from Kyle, right? So I don't want to feel like I'm stepping up, but this is really why you need to work with a team.
I mean, I'll talk about that. So you've got to be confident in yourself to be able to have that conversation with the lender and get ahead of it, right? So if you try to hide behind it and you try to pretend like it's not there, instead of addressing it up front, that's when you're going to face that problem. So if you can get ahead of that and say, hey, look, here's how this transaction is going to flow through. Here's the reason why. The buyer already understands. There's no reason to make into a big deal. Let's just move forward. If you act like it's not there, and then this is when it can go real bad. You act like it's not there, they bring it up to the buyer says you didn't tell me, or you didn't explain it, or now it's a disaster. So by getting ahead of it and being confident in yourself and confident in your ability and the value you bring, you'll never have that problem. And then worst case, right? Worst case, at the end of the day, you have a conversation with the buyer and be ahead of that part as well. So now there's absolutely no way the two. And the lender's a moron for trying to do that because you're never going to deal with them again.
They deal with it. They do it all the time, though.
I know. It doesn't make any sense, though.
So that's why you're going to work with your vendors.
Right.
And that's why it's going to be a smooth transaction because, listen, I see the same thing with closing attorneys. You know, it goes to the wrong closing attorney, goes to the wrong lender, you're going to have problems.
But my question on that is, what does it matter to them? if it doesn't
Bowl of crabs.
it doesn't impact them at all.
So I can add to that, Kyle. I can say confidently that I get ahead of it because I'm not afraid of having a conversation with anybody. But I think Nathan was about to touch on it maybe, just when people are set on their ways, because again, if the lender knows you're making more than them, or hey, maybe I can charge them more points because they're willing to pay you an extra $7,000 in commission. Now it's just like, well, if you were able to have that conversation and make more money out of them, why can't I do the same thing? And then at the end of the day, they control the CD, and when you get to the closing table and your fee's not there, you're just completely wiped out the transaction, and you look like a dumbass because now you're trying to scramble to get this extra fee. And I'm just saying that kind of like...
Yeah, so here's what we teach our agents when they come on. Kyle alluded, this is great. Go look at the listings that have been on the market 2 weeks. What's the easiest houses for you to get paid your fee on? Okay, houses that have been on the market a couple weeks. In-house sales, right? It's part of the team, part of your broker. You go talk to the person, okay? But as Kyle said, you gotta make sure you disclose this up front. Where you're gonna get in trouble is like you don't tell the people you're getting paid, and all of a sudden it's a surprise. Don't do that. Sit down up front, go over this, but you also have a contract, and you have that contract signed, and then you have it signed in the purchase sales agreement, and then you have another document that says, I know I'm paying X. And so when the crap-headed lender decides to play realtor, which they shouldn't do, you just start asking them about their fees, and you make sure you see a copy of the estimate and say, hey, I think I could save you some money here, and you kick it over to your vendor and say, hey, my vendor will do this a lot cheaper, and they just lost the deal. Yeah, that's the best way to teach them.
Say who you are and your question. Sure. I'm Matthew Guerra. I'm a crap-head lender. But I know a serious question.
Do you do that to people, Matthew? Do you pants people and make sure they don't get paid?
Well, no, I honestly...
Well, then you're not a craphead.
No, I have some respectables and something like that. Well, I do have this question for you looking forward in the future. Lenders' paychecks were unchecked back in 2008, 7, and 6. And then we had the big problem, and then our fees are cut down. We can only charge so much. Do you suspect the CFPB or some other entity will come in and all of a sudden say naturally, nah, realtors 2%, that's it, pick a number?
I think it goes to the same route the lender's fee, and I'm not a lender, but this is what I understand, is that at there's a certain maximum that the LO can actually get paid, right? Whether it's $500,000 or $1 million, most lenders have within their brokerage have a maximum. Is that right? Right? There's like, what do you call that? There's like a cap. There you go. There's a cap on. When it comes to fees. So I can see. I mean, realistically, as much as I would hate it, I could see that there's a cap that like if I sell a $5 million house or a $500,000 house, I really didn't do much more work for the $5 million, but there's no cap. So I can see that happening at some point. People saying like enough, like I shouldn't pay out $200,000 versus a flat $20,000.
Yeah, but let's look at it. Wait, we keep on talking about closing costs, right? It's like we've talked about this. Is like, you make the offer subject to the seller paying that fee, and you give them their price. So just get paid from the seller, right? But
well, I just wonder if you think the government will come in.
I don't think so. I think that'll be overstepped. Then we're not under that CFPB, so they'd have to make something for that. The government's not known for being fast or smart. So could they do something like that? They could, but I don't.
Take forever.
I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think it's going to be. They're trying to keep it open so it's a free enterprise, so it's negotiable. But when we say things like every brokerage goes around and says, hey, if you don't pay agent X, then your home will be shown and it won't sell, and everybody says that, well, then they say, well, listen, DOJ says that's anti-competitiveness, that's price fixing, right? And that's what's happened. And that's why this is getting pulled apart. But if they open it up and let people negotiate, they'll be able to do that. But stop focusing just on the closing cost credit too, and negotiate it into the deal with the seller, right?
Thank you. We have a question right here.
Hi, my name's Heather Fye.
Where are you coming from?
What would your suggestion be if you've already gone through the transaction, you're about 3/4 of the way through, and you find out that your buyers don't have enough funds in their account, and then your appraisal comes in short, so there's no room for buyer agency fees? What would you do?
I would.
Is that an Eric question or a Nathan question? Or?
I would like to hear from Eric and all of them.
Okay.
Sure.
Eric, first, you probably come across this because you verified all of their finances, correct?
Yeah, we go through this a lot. So obviously, in your scenario, it's an appraisal issue. So at that point, it's no different than if the appraisal came in lower than the purchase price. You have the ability to stop renegotiating. And it could be from a number of different ways. Could be a situation where maybe the person was paying points to get a lower rate, because a lot of people are doing that now because they want the rates of yesterday. Maybe that's a conversation we as a lender have to have. If you have a fee, maybe they need to move the rate around to lower their discount points. It could be going back to the seller, just like now. I mean, if an appraisal comes in short, what's the first thing they try to take away? Your seller paid closing, right? And if the client didn't have that, it would make the deal fall apart because they can't get money. So it's all just a conversation, and it could be renegotiations. It's no different than the transaction that you're doing now.
I would say the same. It's concessions all the way around. Everyone takes a portion off, and you try to make it work. Because if you don't, the buyer is a loser or the seller's a loser. So it kind of defeats the purpose of what we're supposed to do. So everyone has to kind of figure it out, and you got to negotiate that way.
Do you still follow through, even if you can't come to terms with both buyer and seller? Then do you still follow through and not get paid?
Yeah, so are you asking the question too, is like, there's no room for you to be paid.
Yeah.
Do I kill the deal? Can I kill the deal?
Well, not
Right.
necessarily. I mean,
Right.
you have to kind of follow through.
Right.
What do you do at that point? Do you have the options?
Yeah, so you can get paid from the buyer. The buyer can pay you at closing, credit cards.
But if they don't, oh, okay.
You know, there's other ways to get paid. I mean, you laugh, we've done it. I mean, this happens. It's part of business. You try and negotiate everything you can. You know,
Are those buyer agency contracts, agreements, will they uphold in court?
well, that's the thing. I mean, you got to start running. That's the question everybody's going to start asking themselves. Like, are you seriously going to start running around and suing people that don't buy houses with you? You can. It's very expensive. Once again, you got to have an overflow of business. This is what it all comes down to. Like, I'll tell you the numbers right now. If you meet with 100 buyers, 60 of them are going to sign a buyer's agreement with you, you know, on a good day. Let's just say 50%, because easy numbers to run. So half the people you meet with aren't going to sign one. And I'd love to say that half the people buy a house, but it's more like maybe 25% of the people you meet with actually buy a house. So you sign 50, 25% of those 50 actually buy a house. So what does that come out to? Like 15, 12 and a half, thank you. I only went to high school. 12 and a half people actually buy a house, right? And out of those 12 and a half, you know, maybe 20% fall apart. So you're left with about 8 or 9 transactions that actually close. And out of some of those, they're not going to pay you the full amount. But if you only have 1 or 2 buyers, that numbers, there's no money at the end of it, right? Because if you only have 2 or 3 buyers and 2 buyers and one of them signs a buyer's agreement, the other one doesn't, that chances are they're not really going to buy a house. That's why you have to have just an overflow of enough business coming in that you can deal with, oops, this one didn't close, right? So that's what I keep on trying to say is the overflow of business solves all your problems.
Thank you. I have a question over here.
Hi, this is directed for Nathan. Oh, Kyle also, but really Nathan, you mentioned about double ending listings.
Yes, yep.
Because you have done so much more of the buyer agency transactions than probably the average person here. How do you handle a double ender when you're representing the seller and maybe you bring the buyer?
Sure.
Are you able to collect on both sides? Does the buyer then pay you as well as the seller?
Yep. Very simple answer, yes. You know, you become a transaction facilitator or dual agency. It just has to be disclosed to everybody. You know, there's nothing to be afraid of with dual agency, but it's just disclosing that to them. The contracts that we have, okay, that's the value that we bring. You were asking, how do you get a buyer's agreement signed? You know, offering the buyer houses that they can already find in their home is not unique to them. That's not an advantage. Maybe offer them houses they can't find on their own, houses they can't find on Zillow and Realtor.com, the internet, okay? In our case, okay, as I said in my presentation, you want to try to operate like 99% of people don't. Like you want to be doing everything different if you want to survive. Don't use MLS to sell houses. You can make more money for your seller by using scarcity, by not just inputting it into the computer and saying, like everybody else, this is how we sell houses. We just put it in MLS, because that is what's killing the industry. It's everybody's acting like a commodity, doing the same thing, and that's why companies are coming making billions of dollars. Everybody do the same thing. Get buyers access to houses, learn how to sell houses without MLS by finding off-market access to properties and putting those together before they come on the market, because that's what the buyer and seller want.
Kai, I'd like you to jump on that too, because that was something that you really hit home on with me at the beginning when you were speaking, is the dual facilitator, finding other stuff, putting deals together between agencies and disclosing correctly.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, by providing that value and giving them the opportunity to get something they wouldn't get on their own, a buyer sees so much premium, there's so much premium in that it's not really a tough conversation. And at the end, and you know, the seller's like, hey, I want this, and it's not on the market, it's not listed, you didn't put it on. You know, if you can, we talk about net listing and not to kind of get into that, but at the end of the day, if you're bringing that value to that buyer by getting them something they can't just get from any Joe Blow, then it's a way easier conversation. I think look, I'm gonna say this. Here's the reality. Here's the reality. We're all getting bent out of shape, and we're all getting super nervous, and we're all trying to figure out a million different ways to skin the cat. Until this becomes mandated, until this becomes regulation, until every one of us in the room does things the same way, and we all operate the same way your company operates, in a way where you give $1 or $100, whatever it is, 1%, whatever, the regular transaction is not going to change. Like, it's not changing until, being honest, I don't see here in Rhode Island, I don't see that changing as fast as we are acting. Now, if we're forced to do it, then we're all going to have to be doing it, and we'll have to be on the same page. But until that point, I mean, you can look this up. I'm 1% of the market, they're 1% of the market. You're worried about 1% of the market. What are we doing? Right? Like, yes, you have to know how to handle it, and yes, you have to understand what it is, and yes, it's great to be ahead of it, and it's great to understand buyer agency and what, but let's not forget that 99% of the people in this room, when they list a property, whether they list one house or 20 houses or 100 houses, they're still going to operate under the same code of conduct that we have in the past. Not saying it's right or wrong, but that's just the reality. I play in reality. I play in the real world. I'm playing make-believe. I'm time for make-believe. So at the end of the day, we need to focus on if it happens, when it happens, how to do it the right way. But in the meantime, how to be, like I said, multi-pronged and be able to act. And not to say, here's the one thing I don't like. Oh, he does it like that, screw him. Why? He can do anything he wants. He can do anything he wants. He can pay you in bananas if he wants. He can literally do whatever. I can do what I want. Eric can do what he wants. And they can do what they want. We just have to know how to work together. And that's the whole thing I started with. And that's the whole thing I'll talk about now. Agreed. There's no right or wrong way to run your real estate business. It's your business for a reason. Now, we may adopt it. They may adopt it. Everyone may adopt it. I don't know. I don't know where it goes. But that's what I just think. Be careful what you're getting so worked up about, because that takes you away from doing the things I talked about in my segment when focus on the basics. Be proactive. Get out there. Build relationships. Get in front of people. Get off-market deals. Get buyers. Understand what you're paying for. Understand that stuff.
Yes, I agree. Awesome stuff.
I got those results back. I knew you were No, I just wanted to go over them. This is what I asked you guys at the same. What do you guys feel? Right?
Can I guess?
What do you think, Kyle?
What were the three things? The world's going to the hell. Something to that nature.
Yeah, world going to hell. Nuclear.
Nuclear, I would say 70%.
Okay. The lawsuits are going to dismantle the real estate industry, and buyers will go directly to the listing agent.
20%.
And just sign buyer's agreements and everything will be okay.
10%.
Your results are pretty good. Survey says 15% just says sign a sales agreement. Now 115 of you guys responded, so great job. That was pretty quick. 15% say just sign a buyer's agreement, everything will be okay. 22.5% say buyers will now just start going to the listing agent, and 62.5% said this is the end of the world, jump off a bridge now.
Pretty good guess, huh?
It was, yeah.
I mean, I know most of the people in here, so I know how many. This is how they think. I see them all the time.
But I would disagree. I really think that we're thinking this isn't happening quickly, though. But Kyle, with all due respect, you got New York that just said you can't get paid by a listing agent. In January 1st.
Fine. But until it happens, what do we worry about? That's my point. It's like, you're worrying about something. Like, I could get up every day and be like, I'm going to get hit by a bus. I know it. I fucking know I'm going to get hit. Why am I worried about that? I'm not. There's no bus. I don't walk in front of bus stops. I'm not worried about buses.
If Kyle gets hit by a bus, I believe it's going to be.
Wait, isn't that tough? You have a driver?
There is something we said, though, like, that bus is coming right for you, and you can see it coming, is preparing for that. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen in the next 6 weeks. I would think in the next 6 months, you're going to see it more and more profitable. More and more movements being happened to shift. Listen, how many times are these brokerages going to lose $55 million before they say, hey, we got to stop this game? And how many brokerages that are forward thinking will sit there and saying, why are we paying a buyer's broker? Why are we part of MLS if I'm not guaranteed I'm going to get paid anything? Why am I doing that? You know, once again, operating like everybody else is not going to make you rich in this business.
So this is probably more for Eric about broker opinions. What about like a VA loan when it comes to buyer's agents?
So the first option that Nathan gave, if you were doing buyer's agency, you would just ask for it to be paid by the seller. All of this that they're talking about with the buyer agency is just about how they're going to list it in MLS. Like if we use New York as an example, they're saying the listing agent can't advertise that they're going to pay the buyer's agent. They're not saying the seller can't. They're not saying that you can't negotiate to still get paid. It's all negotiate until, and I'll echo Kyle, there isn't regulatory on it yet. But as of right now, they're saying the listing agent can't advertise that they're going to pay out X dollar to bring in the buyer. That's the way I'm reading it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's what they want. DOJ wants. The seller is not going to pay some flat fee or percentage to come out there. You're going to negotiate, make it part of the deal. Everybody's going to know about it. It's going to be transparent. They want more transparency. I think it really should start from the top up, but there should be more transparency in this industry.
But again, but we're missing the point. If we have no other way to do it, and that's the way that we have to do it, it's just going to become common practice. It's not a big deal. But this is where I get frustrated. Because there's no, it's not, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way, people get confused. And then the buyer's like, well, I didn't think I was supposed to pay. Then some do pay. Then they talk to their friends, and that's where it gets wicked confusing. If it just goes that way, well, then that's what it is. So the buyer has to pay for the buy. You get it just doesn't change. It's just like when a buyer has the lender, the closing costs, right? We just know it like that. So no one questions it. A buyer never says, well, why do I roll it in? No, well, you're just paying for it. They don't even realize they're just paying for it. If it just becomes natural practice, this is fine. And he can do it, I can do it. Anyone can come up here and we can teach you how to put it into the contract, negotiate the buyer agency. But it's when it's confusing, and not only the agents get confused, the brokers are confused, the public is confused, the lenders are confused, the lawyers are confused. It's a mess. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing, and that's why there's frustration on whatever side you're on of the table. It's frustrating. I've got agents in my brokers. Oh, we're dealing with him. We're dealing with what? Okay, just put it in the offer. Just write what you want to get paid. If anything, you're going to get paid more because you can put in your own commission in the offer form now than you could have before. If he was only paying out, or they were only paying out 2% or 1.5% or whatever, now you can get more money. Mm-hmm. So it's just the way that you have to address. And when you explain it to the agents, they're like, oh, I didn't think of that. We thought he was screwing us. No, it's how he's running his business. And
why don't we just say who he is?
You.
Yeah.
Fucking him.
Not me. So I think that's a very pointed what he was saying out there. It's, the agents that are selling my listings are getting paid more than what they would get paid if it was just before. That's out there.
Right.
Because we make it negotiable, make it transparent. We're forcing the transparency, but I'm telling you, the right way to do this should have been done the other way. NAR does this because this is a membership count for them. Their membership went from 750,000 to 1.6 million, right? Bringing people in and saying this free lunch, just show up, bring your relative in the listing, and get paid. That's not the right way to do business. That's not transparent. Okay, as Kyle said before, buyer's agents just say, hey, listen, I don't know how you get paid. I mean, we've all heard that.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? That doesn't mean it's very transparent.
But here's the other part. How hard is it for me as a broker to pick up the phone and call you and be like, hey, one of our agents is a little they're a little nervous, they're a little confused. Can we just kind of walk through together with them? Right? We've done it
all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I call like, hey, this one's kind of new. They're a little confused. Can we try to figure out with whoever on your side is? And it usually is fine. It's not a big deal. So you just got to know and be okay with confronting it.
I have a question here.
Kyle, you just hit it in the head. If it's going to become the new norm, then why are we losing our minds over it, right? But I think everybody probably needs to hear it again, and everybody that's been on stage has touched the topic in one shape or form or another. And how important is it for us to pivot in our industry with this new change? Like, do we pivot and survive, or if we don't pivot, are we going to be able to find another way to conduct our business? And I think everybody needs to hear it again, because most of our questions from our audience today comes with a little bit of resistance, right?
Yeah.
And we need to stop fighting it. It's going to be the new norm, whether you want it or not. It's whether you just hang around for it.
I think you pivot when you have to. I think you don't reverse pivot. I think you pivot when you have to. And I think you have an education on what's to come, but until you are forced to pivot, why? But know what it is. And he's going to say pivot now, but I understand there's just two ways to do this. There's a million ways to do it. But why get ahead of it? Like, just be educated on it and understand what it is. But I think you pivot when you need to. It would be too hard. The bus would be too hard to move to get everyone in the room to do things the same way. It's just not happening.
Right.
They could say yes here and then go back, and 99% of them aren't doing it.
What you do in practice, you do in the game.
Right.
Stop practicing it now. Okay, that's my thing with it, is like, we've been doing it for so long. Before anybody in the state, we've been doing it. We got our heads bashed in from our competition, contacting MLS police. The MLS police calls us, whatever the problem is. We've been doing that, finding what works, what doesn't work. That's what you're gonna stop finding now. You don't need to wait for your house to be on fire to stop saying, hey, I wish I had smoke detectors, or I wish I learned this stuff now. Start training it now, because it's coming. If we all know it's coming, then get ready for it to come and start training now for it. We got a 10-year head start on everybody. You now have maybe a 6-month or 2-year head start. Use that head start. Don't wait for that train to be running you over to pivot.
So on that same line of thinking, I'm curious to know, Nathan, like, I appreciate your foresight. What gave you that foresight? How did you see this coming? Because you said you've seen it coming for a long time, and you guys obviously have been ahead of the curve. What gave you that foresight? I know you're...
Because I just saw the compression happening in real estate fees. Like, I can't go to work. There's no business in the world that goes to work and doesn't know what their fee is. And as much as I'll pick on Kyle because he picked on me the whole time, I can't set my, hey, whatever Kyle's going to pay me, that's what I'm going to go make today. I can't do business that way. I need to set my fee. Know if I go build a deck on a house, I know I'm going to pay this much money for my labor to do that. The same thing needs to happen per transaction that you sell a house. You need to set your fee. And I was just watching commissions get pushed further and further down, and I could see the future of this. And also, just the way things are moving is saying, hey, I know how much it costs for me to acquire a customer, do business, and I need to set my fee to that. And I'm watching commissions go further and further and further down, saying I can't continue to do that and make a living. And I recommend you do the same thing about setting your fee. This is what I need to make this work make sense, to do that.
To his point, we actually have a division within our brokerage that runs the same way. We run it the same exact way as far as on the buyer side, because the expense to produce what we produce for that group of people is so high, it's just, you don't have a choice. Otherwise, you're just taking a loss and you're in the red every single month. So we're actually on the buy side doing the same thing with helping agents get more money, helping agents produce more, but at the same time, you have to take a certain amount, or just the math makes no sense.
So I guess that's it's kind of like...
Nope.
No? 10 years ago, would you wish you did it?
I have a question from this gentleman right here. His name is Matthew Patty. Anybody knows?
Awesome sweater, man.
So, thank you, bro. Appreciate that. So Nathan, you broke down the $5 million, but you didn't tell us how much income you personally make each year.
I mean, come on.
We like the physics competitions, I can tell.
No, for real. You guys touch on NAR a lot, and Zillow in particular, I think, takes the hit with this, because if you talk about the reason somebody might sign a contract with a buyer, it's not because they intercepted a call on the internet and met somebody at a property and breathed down their neck for 5 minutes, right? So future of Zillow, future of NAR, is it going to get bigger? How are those entities going to fare with all of this?
But do they, though? If you're able to evolve into the buyer agency commission, and that's the new norm.
Right.
And you're actually getting 3.5% versus 2% or 2.25% or 2.5%. How does that make Zillow less valuable? Because it's still giving you an at-bat. And that at-bat is the only way we get paid. So as I talked about in the beginning, I kind of thought it through as we've been here this whole time and said, it may not be a total negative for companies like Zillow if agents are able to convert and sell that buyer agency. Then the value actually could go up.
Okay.
To be honest, and that's just me thinking it through. I started saying it'll go down, so I changed my whole tone.
what about NAR? You think?
I give two shits about that. I don't even know what that is.
Right.
So, so this is.
Fuck.
I think we're gonna realize is like the era that we've built these companies ourselves. Think about just the crazy idea. Zillow, Redfin, all these companies were made off of your hard work. You spend $2, $3, $4, whatever $1,000 to develop a lead. You work that lead, they're a listing, you bring it home, okay? And then we put it in this system. Run to the computer. You're gonna put it in 24 hours. You're gonna jump it into the computer. It's a database that MLS has. We gotta put it in MLS's database where they scrape all your marketing off it. No one can know whose listing this is because we're gonna deceive the public. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put it in MLS and then no one will know whose listing it is. And people go to the IDX websites and they'll see, you know, Kyle has this and it looks like it's Kyle's listing, or they go to Nathan's, it looks like it's Nathan's, but it's not. And the consumer calls, they're confused. They think they're talking to the listing agent, okay? We see this happen day in and day out. And if you really look at this stuff, guys, it's BS. It's deceiving the public. The public doesn't know. It's smoke and mirrors. Why don't we want to tell the public the benefits we can do to sell their property? I can't advertise on my listings that I'll give the buyer a 1% buy down their rate. MLS doesn't allow that because that's not in the best interest of who? Well, it's in the best interest of my seller. It adds value to my listing. It's the best interest of the buyer because they get a 1% buy down. But why can't I do that? Well, that's playing different than everybody else and that would brand you and then they would know who has the listing, okay? That's what this is all coming to an end. It's just a bunch of BS that was built up and it's all falling down because you're not doing what's best for the customer. Let the customer know who the listing agent is, not little mice type at the bottom of IDX. This is the games that they've been playing and DOJ is caught up to them. They're caught. It's over. NAR is done. They ain't gonna come out of this landmine and walk on top of another landmine and spend another $600 billion to get this way out, right? You can just see it. Where did they get this money from? They got $1 billion value if they sold all their real estate and all their assets. They owe $5 billion. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that you have to put a bond, get past this $5.6 billion one. I don't know if they bonded up yet. To put a bond, you basically put 100% of what's owed out there. I don't know if they have. Let's say they get past this $5.6 billion one. How many more lawsuits are they gonna step on after that? How are they gonna survive this? It's over. The business needs to change. The customers are telling you right now, go outside, you're being sued by buyers and sellers. They want transparency. Give them transparency. Somebody will come up with a better Zillow. Someone will come up with a better transparency. Someone's gonna come up with a button that you just hit and your house is sold. I promise you that.
But how much of the business hasn't changed? So to your point, the business will change, but it's still relationship based.
100%. So things are not gonna change.
Like, that's what I'm saying. So that part of it is the part that I feel like we just continue to go, not us here, but in general,
right?
We focus on the wrong things.
Well, Kyle, like I asked in the presentation, I said the smart question is not asking what's going to change in the next 10 years, but what's not going to change in the next 10 years. You just said it. They're social creatures. We're social creatures. We're going to be social, okay? We're going to want live interaction, okay? We're going to want someone to be physically there showing us the property. But we got to play checkers while everybody's playing chess. Excuse me, we got to play chess while everybody's playing checkers.
But there's
vice versa. We got to be ready for these things.
But there's a reason that Zillow iBuyer didn't work. There's a reason why whatever in Georgia they were doing
Boots
all
on the
the
ground.
Huh?
Boots on the
That's
ground.
right. It doesn't work. You can't replicate. Like, I've done a lot of off-market wholesale stuff, and the one thing I say all the time, I got to get in it. I have to see it. Because it's really easy to make a mistake if you don't see it. It's really easy to make a mistake if you don't have knowledge of the surrounding area. It's really easy to make a mistake if you don't understand what you're buying, because there's so many different factors. And I think that system sounded great. Everyone's like, oh, I remember in Georgia, I knew a bunch of brokers down there, like they're taking over. It was iBuyer, another company, offers.com, whatever, or something. OfferPads. Yep. And I was like, that thing will be gone in 6 months. And 6 months later, Zillow iBuyers were gone. It just doesn't totally work, you know, from a profitability standpoint.
How do you play checkers versus chess? Because the competition field itself, in terms of, so Nathan, you talk about NAR, it should be in any form of existent, right? But if as agents, if we're adapting to doing things out of NAR, where most of the agents utilize MLS to showcase their property, how do you expect agents to be creative enough to be able to display or present properties to potential buyers?
What are you really good at? You yourself. What are you really good at?
Social media.
What?
Social media.
All right, there's your answer. That's
But
how
not
you.
a lot of agents.
But that's how you do it.
True.
Right.
Once again, but not a lot of agents.
They need to find their thing.
That's true. All right. Enough said. My job.
No, I thought that was a great question.
Hey, sometimes you get your own answer, you know, you get it right back at you. Because I was going to say, I already knew what you do best, Sadiq. Honey.
Vivian Balkun for an amazing event.
Oh, you're welcome,
And
Simi.
thank you guys
Boo-hoo.
out there for taking your time to educate everybody. I do appreciate the proactiveness that Kyle's preaching about in the being practical, like Nathan is talking about. But I do want Eric to kind of give us a real life scenario when it comes to closing costs. Guess what? $5,000 covers not even prepaid anymore, never mind escrow bill. Now we're talking about rolling in buyer agency fees. You know, people were going crazy when we were asking for $12,000 in closing costs for a rate buy down. So now I think setting the expectation of somebody buying a $350,000 or $400,000 house, what standard fees will look like, as well as buyer agency fees if you're asking for it.
I think if as Kyle said, when it happens, it'll be normal. So FHA allows up to 6% in seller paid credits. So if you were buying a $400,000 house, we have $24,000 to play with. And when you get an offer right now, if you've seen us asking for $24,000 in seller paid, you kind of look at it and your head starts to like twitch, and you go, "Well, $24,000? What's going on here?" But it'll become normal. It will become normal. As soon as everybody's doing it, it will become normal. So it will come down to working with lenders who know what the maximums are, communicating with the lenders before you actually put the offer in, because the worst thing you can do is put in an offer, get it accepted, and find out that you didn't put it together right, and now the financing doesn't work. So it's really gonna, you know, when this happens, we live it every day because we're doing it, we're very versed in it, me and Nathan. We always make sure we put it together right. We stop, we talk about it, we do scenarios with all of his agents. I get calls morning, noon, and night. We make sure we put it together right. The most important thing, and that should be every deal. It shouldn't matter if you have buyer's agency, if you have seller credit. That's how we should be doing it for the client. We should be making sure we're putting the deal together right, making sure the client knows the payment, how much money they're gonna need. That's not gonna change. But if you're not doing that now, that needs to change, regardless of buyer agency.
The other side is just as important though. So if you're on the listing side and that offer comes in and it's $424 with $24 back in closing costs, and that listing agent isn't strong enough to explain to the seller that your net number, whether it was 500 with 100 back or 424 with, is the same thing. That kills more deals. Like trying to explain that to agents that are trying to fight against the buyer's closing costs is counterproductive. This doesn't make any sense. Like we just need to help educate the seller on what they're getting on their end and let the buyer's end handle what they need. So if the buyer's getting $25,000 and we feel like that's wrong, that's not our decision. We're on the listing side. So at the end of the day, I see that a lot when they're like, wow, the closing costs are, I don't care what the that's on them.
So Kyle, what it sounds like what you're saying is the sellers care about what they're gonna net.
Right.
And the buyer cares what they're gonna pay.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's what should be focused on. That's a great way to negotiate.
Agreed.
That's how we negotiate. Kyle put a deal on, let's say it's $424. I'm telling the seller, okay, basically it's $400,000. You're gonna offer for $400, what do you wanna do? Maybe they come back and say, well, I want $405. Kyle, what would you go back and tell your buyer?
$429.
$429 is the price. Would you pay $429?
If I need the 20, yeah, if I need that, then it's
okay.
Then
no, I wouldn't. I'll pay $427.5. Okay, hey, seller, we're gonna offer for $402.5. Net to you. Okay, I'll take that. Okay, buyer, we got the deal. Right? So focus on what the buyers and the sellers want. Sellers care about what they net. Buyers care about what they pay. That's what they're looking at.
And that's a good call though. Closing costs are no longer $5,000. So when I see that all the time, like 5,000 in closing, I'm like, that's not covering anything.
Just the points buy down is like
that's what I'm saying. So like seriously, a lot of us have been trained. I know from when I started, it was always 5,000. Like that doesn't do anything anymore. So that's a good call for us to educate ourselves on the amount that it actually is. It's way higher than that.
Hudson, you got somebody over there?
I got a question.
No, not you yet.
Nope.
The guy with the mic. Sorry.
Neil Sargent.
Nathan, Kyle, awesome job. Eric, you too, awesome. So I have a question, Nathan, because you work, you see the future, and you try to work towards what is coming. So have you had this situation before, and how have you dealt with it? So two situations. First, have you had a buyer not pay you the commission?
Oh, hell yeah.
Sneak out.
It's part of business. People get people to steal. I mean, that's part of business. I mean, have you had a listing like try not to pay you? Eventually, that's going to happen to you. Yeah.
Because we're going to run into this. So
Yeah. Yep.
what should we do, or how do you deal with that?
I'm not chasing you. If you don't want to do business with me, listen, I signed you an agreement, a listing agreement, a buyer's agreement. You don't want to do business with me. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire. Okay. I don't believe there's scarcity out there. I believe there's abundance. And I'll just work with the next person, right? I'm not going to sue you if you go buy a house without it, but you have the right to do that. That's your contract. I'm just simply not going to go spend $30,000 on a lawsuit, or $20,000 on a lawsuit to make $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, whatever the commission is. I think it just goes back to, it hurts when you don't have any business, and that happens. That's happened to me at the worst times. It's going to happen, yes. But that happens in listings now, right? And that happens with buyer's agreements now, so I wouldn't worry about that. Just next, and move on to the next one.
So the next one is, what if I'm working with you, or Kyle, and you guys are charging me as a buyer your commission. Show me 20 houses, and then I go with someone else who's half of your commission, and I go and buy a house with them.
Happens all the time. Seriously, it's not that I'm charging more, but it's the next man up mentality. You have to almost be immune to and not get married to that person. Like, you have to understand that it could be as simple as you went away for the weekend and they went to an open house and they saw the house and the other broker said whatever to them and they liked it and they got the deal.
You stole my buyer.
Right. Yeah.
Stole him.
Put him in a sack and right away. I wasn't doing that great of a job, or I was away. I mean, it happens. So you have to just be able to understand that it happens and take that mentality that keep moving on to the next one. But there's nothing else you can do. A lot of people, I see a lot of agents in our brokerage that happens and that paralyzes them. They're like really hurt.
Oh, when you got 4 deals and that happens, that's a lot.
Right. No, it really hurts. I get it.
Yeah.
And it's just, but to try to teach people that abundancy mentality and that next person up mentality, and it's just the only way that the sales gig works. You have to have that someone.
I think it's the abundancy. You know, why you need abundancy.
You have to.
Kyle, I have a question because I had a bunch of questions still. So, for people that are here, I always try to, I've done a lot of video myself, talked about possibly working with a team or, re-educating yourself if you've only been in the business 2 or 3 years. Give me some reasons why agents don't or won't want to join a team.
Pride. We had to change Century 21, the Seyboth team, to Century 21 Limitless. And I love the name and I love that we did it, but we did it because so many people were like, I want my own identity. And I get it. Yeah. It's okay. But I think at the end of the day, sometimes the wrong people put that ego or identity piece in front of their ability to actually produce at a higher level and get to their full potential. And I think that's where you see the problem, is that people think they can do it on their own, or they think, I think Nathan mentioned it earlier, well, if I'm on a team, I'm going to get a lesser amount. And I say this all the time. I must say this 2-3 times a day. 100% of zero is zero.
Yeah.
You can have 100%, but I don't know what else to tell you. So at the end of the day, I think that's the biggest factor. They're worried about what they get in their pocket, which I get, and it makes sense. But when you really dig into the numbers, it may be less. And then the other thing is just pride and ego.
Pride and ego, yeah. You had another question, my friend, right?
Oh, this is a quick question for Eric. Do appraisers have issues when they see seller credit 24, 28 something $1,000? I don't generally get any of those.
I mean, honestly, an appraiser's job is to put his opinion of the value. The purchase price, the seller credit, none of that should actually sway them if they were doing their job correctly.
But they have issues with that.
There's always going to be some bad appraisers. You guys as realtors run into them. You probably cringe when they show up. No more so that appraiser who's worried about the purchase price or the seller credit. He's worried about every tiny little peeling paint. He's worried about a railing. He's worried about 80 different things that are going to blow that deal up. So half the time when they come in light, or because of the seller credit, there's usually subject to this laundry list too. That goes hand in hand. So that deal's probably not going to go together. And maybe that house really wasn't worth that if it did have those issues. But at that point, the seller wanted that much and the buyer was willing to pay that much. And now an appraiser has gotten in the middle and just clogged up the system.
I don't believe any of that. I think the appraiser looks at the number, they see the credits, they get pissed off, and they change, and they figure it out. They bring that. I see it all the time.
I don't disagree. The select appraisers.
You can say whatever you want, and maybe not a majority of them, but a lot of the appraisals are swayed by the purchase price.
I don't disagree that there are some appraisers.
And then they see the closing costs and they say, oh, well, what's up with this? Because it's not the norm, and it definitely sways the appraisal. Some, not all, some.
I need something to knock on because we don't have as many issues as you're talking
That's
about.
That's good, because I see it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see it really as an issue.
That's
good. Yeah.
Hudson, you got to, yeah.
So I have a question over here. So this actually plays well off of the last question, and I do agree with some of the comments that Kyle just made as far as appraisals go, because I do think that appraisers are looking at the purchase price. It's not the credit part that I worry about so much, but more, sometimes buyers may be paying this out of pocket. It's not going to be reflected in the MLS. It's not going to be, we're not going to know this when we're running comps for our buyers. How are the appraisers going to handle some of these? Are we going to start seeing appraisals kind of all over the place, because now, obviously not right now, Nathan, you are one that is doing it. I'm actually curious, are you getting any questions from appraisers yet in reflection of closing prices on those?
Darielle, Frank? No? We did this, I've done this literally thousands and thousands of times for years. You would say that's a minority. By few, of like they coming back and saying the appraisal is an issue.
No, I mean in relation, so I don't think you've been doing it for years, is not offering the buyer agent.
Oh, you're talking about the listing side?
Yeah, no, so overall purchase price, seeing these closings, just you're an early onsetter on this, so I just want if you've gotten any calls specifically from appraisers.
I wouldn't take those calls personally. I'd have to ask my management team, and they're shaking their heads no. So.
Does anybody foresee this as being an issue, or as a fellow realtor and seeing this being an issue for comps and starting to get a little confusing now that the commission structures are going to start changing more and more?
I would say put it in an amendment if you're worried about concessions or anything. If you're concerned about the price of the property with closed costs tax, put it in an amendment.
He's saying put it. Yeah, but he's saying if it's not on the P&S and they don't see that it includes that 24,000, then you have a better chance to get that higher number. So.
But what if you have a separate agreement with your buyer to make up for?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Put it on an addendum, and then at least the appraisal issue is a minimal chance that it's going to come in low, which makes sense because we're just all we're human too. So if they don't see it on the purchase and sales, well, that's what this person's willing to pay, and an asset's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. See what I'm saying? So if you do it, that's actually a good way to do it. If you put it on an addendum, and then it's not on there. Both parties signed.
But it won't be reflected in the purchase price.
No, it will. So if it's 424, and you don't put it in the bottom there, the additional provisions, you put it on an addendum, there's still a $24,000 credit for whatever that line, the closing costs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just not included on the P&S. So the appraiser's not getting it.
Let me just help out. I think there's a communication gap here. I think what you're asking is if we're selling a house for $450, but somebody's paying the buyer outside of that $450, that you're asking, right? So
I don't get it.
So what she's saying is if we're selling the house for $450, but the buyer is paying their agent another $10,000 on top of that $450 outside.
Oh, I didn't understand. That's what you meant.
Yeah,
I get it.
What you're asking is that will never be reflected in the appraisal. Right?
Correct.
460 is technically the purchase. Right?
I think how we handle it is just the appraiser, if they're a good appraiser, they just look, can I justify this $450 price or not, right? The what if game of as it goes, does that happen? And what's probably gonna happen because the property doesn't appraise for that value, and now all of a sudden you're getting attacked because the appraisal's coming in light. But if the house is worth $450 as an agent, your buyer's paying for that price, do you think this can justify a 450 appraisal looking at comps? Now you're looking at the sell side, I think is what you're asking, Miss? Is like looking at those comps, how do I see that in the comps?
To roll off of what he just said, so 450 shows as the purchase price, but really the buyer is more of a 460.
Yes.
So now the appraisers in the next few months don't know that it was really more of a 460 deal.
Yeah, but that was $10,000 towards closing costs for the buyer paying that. That wasn't the real sale price.
But, last year that included all that stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how these things come. Yeah, I don't know the right answer to what you're saying. I think it's, I
don't even know the question.
Well, listen, we're going to network afterwards. Maybe you can, there's some great lenders in the room that I can vouch for that have been part of doing these buyer agencies, buyer agreements, helping with contracts.
Any appraisers in the room?
There probably is an appraiser or two in here. Yeah, I think we will. This gentleman has a question right here. Yep, you're on. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. I see a lot of, and I'm not an NAR spy or anything like that. I see a lot of negativity towards NAR and some things that I think warrant some animosity from. I'll say MLS as well. There's changes anywhere. You said time and time again tonight that this is a relationship business. Now, NAR, I believe, is one of the largest lobbyists in Congress.
Number one, yep.
Judges and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So they have a relationship they're trying to develop with the people who make the laws on our behalf. Do you see any value in NAR or maybe a replacement organization that negotiates on our behalf with Congress on the laws that are passed in our past? And I'd like to get an answer from both of you to see what you both think. It seems like
Talking to you, Sue?
it seems like there's sentiment that we'd like NAR to go away, or we think they're going to go away. But if they go away, we lose that massive relationship or lobbyists in Congress. Do you see that? Do you see a negative there?
I don't know.
Time will tell.
NAR hasn't done anything for me in my career. They say they do all these things. I think NAR is more for the agents that sell 0 to 4 homes per year, and that's their ideal client. If you're going to sell a lot of houses, NAR, you're a pain in the ass to NAR. You're the pain in the ass to MLS when you call them. You do things different. They got to deal with your headaches. They treat you that way when you talk to them. Why are we giving them this money? Yeah, they get a lot of money and they go lobbyists, and you can see the corruption they have in their problems they're dealing with in their leadership from the top down. Do I think we need them? No, I don't think we need the government either. The less they're there, the better I'm going to do without them. So NAR's the same way.
The government's not going away. So
Used to be church either.
Someone lobbying on our behalf at the congressional level. Otherwise, we may end up with a lot more constraints like the mortgage industry.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't have a good stance on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just haven't done anything for me, buddy.
I plead the fifth.
And I think we answer the question is, would you guys, you ask yourself, to be an MLS right now, you have to be an NAR member. If tomorrow they remove that rule, would you still pay $1,100 a year or whatever they charge to be an NAR member? Hell no.
Right.
Hell no. So if you ask people that in the industry, why do they do it? Because we're in handcuffs. You tell us we have to do these things. You tell us we have to abide by the rules. You want Zillow, you want Realtor.com, you want these billion-dollar companies go away? Stop playing the rules that this company that says they're in the best interest for us tells us to do. Play by your own rules. I'm not saying be unethical. I'm not saying break the law. I'm just sitting there saying you put us in the sandbox, you make us all operate the same, and look at the numbers. The industry is broken. Look what agents make. That's because they make you operate this way while these guys make billions of dollars. They're not your friend anymore. That's my 2 cents.
Actually got a clap for that.
On NAR?
Yeah, on NAR, or do you see any value in having someone lobbying on our behalf at the congressional level?
No, I mean, again, I really take what impact in my life does it really have, and not really much. What has it done positive or negatively? Not a ton. So somewhat immaterial as far as NAR. And then, what was the other thing? NAR.
Do you see any value in having an organization somewhat like NAR lobbying on our behalf in Congress?
For free.
I just think it's a simple game. No, I mean, of course there needs to be something to some extent, but I don't think it needs to be that crazy. I mean, a lobbyist team of some sort.
That's what they tell us, right?
I guess.
That's what they tell us. They're lobbying for us. While they're taking pictures and sending it to other women in the group. They brought it upon themselves.
I have a question here from this young lady.
Both of you talked a lot about off-market deals and creating your own inventory. What's your best lead source and how you convert those leads into your purchases and your listings?
I didn't tell you I was giving you that. So I guess a drug dealer where you get some, come on.
So your question is, where do you get the sellers from? What was your question?
She said,
She
where
wants
do you
to
get
know how you guys.
I
think she wants the secret sauce.
I mean, I think you've got. I think to be honest, like you need to think about your own question and really think about where you would go to find an off-market deal, and try to figure out ways to get them. Right? How would you go about getting off-market properties? Me giving you 10 contacts or connects that I work with, they're still going to work with me. You know what I'm saying? Like.
More.
All of the above. All of the above. Like, and that's why I'm helping you walk yourself through it. Like, you've got to find different ways to get them. Whether it's Google AdWords, whether it's go to auctions, whether it's Craigslist, I don't know, whatever you decide to do, figure it out.
I think change your paradigm.
I gave him
I
these.
think look at with these sellers. Do you think sellers want to go on the market and have people come through their property and go through their underwear drawer or whatever they do at open houses that they're afraid of, go through the whole process? Or do you think they would just have an easy button like, I just know my house is sold? Like I don't have to deal with all that crap? I think iBuyers have told you that 60-something%, according to research, sellers say they would sell to an iBuyer program versus putting their house in the market. 25% are doing that right now, 1 out of 4. People are looking for, you go, what's their food, DoorDash. They're looking for the DoorDash system versus the headache system of putting the house in the market and going that way. So I don't think it's just like a special kind of seller that doesn't want to go in the market. I think it's a problem of like, if I came to you and I was like, I already have a buyer for your house, we don't have to put the house in the market, this is what they're willing to pay.
This way as they're coming through.
Do you want to put the house in the market or you just want to take this offer?
Yeah.
They'll buy it right now. Which one do you think most sellers would want to do? Some sellers, yes, hey, I want to put it on the market, see how many offers they get. Some sellers, I'm happy with this price. This is, I knew my house was worth X, and this offers X or a little close to it, but I don't have to deal with the hassle. Yep. There's a reason why people go pay $40 for a sandwich to get delivered to them when they go buy it for $15. But it's the convenience, and I think that's where the business is going towards. They want convenience, so give them convenience. Somebody will come up with that button. You just wake up and hit click, and your house is sold.
I have a question here from Ms. Vargas.
Thank you. Thank you guys, it has been fun. Thank you for your time. First of all, we know if a seller wants to sell, they're willing to pay, regardless of whoever's here asking for commission. So if a seller wants to pay because they want to get rid of a house, how would you guys structure getting half and half, some from the seller, some from the buyer, in order to get your commission? When you were mentioning like, oh, you can get it.
Sure.
Closing costs, half and half. How would you structure that?
Which one? Seller or buyer?
Go for you.
You're the seller? I'm bringing the offer?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to role play with you. I'm going to be the buyer's agent. Kyle's going to be the seller. The house is on the market for $400,000. Sounds like a good number for today. Okay, I'm going to bring him the offer, and he's not going to give me the closing costs I want to be able to cover what I want.
Oh, I like this.
Okay, so
this is where the gloves are going to come out.
How would we handle this? So Kyle, I got you an offer on the property. It's a great house. The buyer's really interested. I know you talked to Eric at my office. He's pre-approving the people. They're ready to go. It'll be a really smooth closing. We'll close in 33 days. No stipulations. These guys are ready to go. It's $425 with $25 back towards closing costs. So it's $400 to your seller. Okay. You'd present the offer. What would you come back with?
We want $410.
You want $410. So your seller wants $410 in your pocket.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer. The sellers come back is they'll meet your terms at $435, okay? But the purchase price is going to be $435, right? Now let's say the buyer's not willing to do $435 and enters your scenario where I'm not getting enough in closing cost, right? Well, then Kyle comes back and I go back to Kyle and say, hey, the highest the buyer will go is $430. So now we're $5,000 away from the sale, right?
I'll take it.
You'll take it. No, Kyle, say you won't take it.
I won't take it.
Kyle won't take it. So
I'm an easy seller. Man. Yeah, right.
So the sellers wants we're $5,000 away, we got to look at it, you know, a common sense would be like, hey, can we just split the difference? Okay, or maybe I would ask the seller to pay me the $5,000 as a seller bonus. You know, he's not offering anything in commission, so now I'm just asking, all right, we could do this, but I request a $5,000 agency fee from the seller. So I make that part of the agreement. They still might not agree to that because they're gonna say, well, that's still netting me. I want $410, you're only getting me $405 still at that price. So a lot of times it's, you know, the buyer's not willing to come up, the seller's not willing to come up, you're looking at your fees. Is that enough? You can put it together. But there's other ways to do it. You know, you can ask for the money from the buyer, you know, later on, okay, as a promissory note or something like that. Work with the lender. Maybe the lender can help you out as far as with the numbers to make it work. You know, we're about $5,000 away. But sometimes you're going to ask for 1% from them, let's say. I really don't want to get into commissions, but a point from here, a point from there, a point from here, whatever you need to do.
And I would just like to jump in on this too, because this is really about discovery. I mean, what these guys have talked about today is really discovering what the client's wants and needs are, first and foremost. Before you jump in the car, before you